the same thing with Dara?
It was a bit kind of the unknown, because obviously I had the first race with Dara, so I knew roughly where he was going to be quick, where he was going to send me in, whatever. But yeah, Ben was a bit of an unknown, because I obviously hadn't raced with him in the first race, so he was a bit, I didn't know where he was going to go. But yeah, he was clean, and it was hard work. But these two are really quick, so it's nice to be out on top.
And also, just finally, a big emotion from not just you but your family as well. How's that kind of going? Big pictures as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got so many people here this weekend. It's great, and it feels so good to finally get one back home where my friends are actually here for once, and my family. So yeah, it's really good.
Go and celebrate with your family, please do. Amazing there from Nikki Taylor. I see Dara Flock just there, and also Ben Colborne, so we'll try and see if we can get one of them. But Dara Flock put in a really good performance, but it just wasn't quite meant to be. It's going to be it's going to be a second and a third for Dara Flock, the Irishman. I'm sure he'll be.
Do just jump in and grab a word. Go marching over to Ben Colburn and throw the mic in his face. He's a good lad. He will take it the best way possible.
And looks like I've actually, in fact, got Dara Flock, who's coming over to potentially get a word. Dara, it wasn't the best of races, but you held on and had a few minor issues, but you still managed to put yourself on the podium.
Yeah, good podium, good race between all three of us, all so close, and yeah, just made a slight mistake, and that's what cost me it really. I was fighting with Nicky and then hit the sausage curve. It was quite bad, but able to gather it back up and fight with Ben really through the end of the race. And also, thanks to the team and everyone, my mechanics, they all helped me out through the weekend, and good to get a good result for the whole team.
How eager were you to get past Ben? Because of course he's a strong competitor, but yeah, it must have been so difficult. Were you eager, or were you just saying work together? Because I know there was a couple of flash of the lights.
Yeah, I was kind of saying work together, and if there was the opportunity there, I would have gone for it. But I was hoping that Ben would make a move, and then on Nicky, and then hopefully from that move I'll be able to follow through. But it just didn't really come. We're all so close in times. There's not even tenths between us. So trying to get by when there's not even tenths between us is so hard.
I'll let you go and celebrate with the P2. We do have our EnduroKAs going out for their green lap, so very quickly Ben Colburn heading over. First and a second, will you come away from this weekend very happy, or was there sort of a bit of improvements to make?
We've always got to improve actually. If you don't get 2 wins, you haven't always done your job properly, have you? So a bit frustrating, but I still started third and gained the place, so it was good points overall.
And of course, championship being extended as well, is that a good feeling?
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's always good to be up top. So we'll keep it going into the next round.
How do you feel going into the next couple of rounds? Do you feel confident, or is there's still a bit more training to do with that one?
No, I think we're in a good space definitely. Obviously, Nicky and Dara always aren't far behind. Obviously, they both won races this year as have I. So it'll be exciting for the rest of the season.
Thanks so much, Ben. Go and enjoy your second place. But yeah, we now have to very quickly move our way onto our main race, our EnduroKA 3 hours. So stay with us for the full 3 hours. It's going to be absolutely mega between the 46 on Motorsport Racing and Pro-Am, who won the first 3 hours yesterday. Stay tuned for that one, and we're going to see some absolutely mega stuff here.
We will indeed. So the EnduroKA 3-hour race, the second of 2 this weekend, have headed out onto circuits. They are currently going out for their green flag warming up lap. We can guide you through the way in which they will line up. It is effectively the finishing positions of yesterday. So on pole position, Pro-Am Racing, car number 12. They will start this race with Ollie Fernall behind the wheel. We will try and get Ollie up in the commentary box at some point throughout this race, just to talk us through a lap, at least from his perspective. Milnair Racing starts alongside 12 and 46 on row number 1. Catastrophe line up alongside Shine Automotive, 131 and 180 on row 2. Row 3 of the grid is made up of Cataclysm and GM Performance, 151 and 81 on row 3. Row 4 is Kahuna's Race Team and Cash Straps Racing, treble 3 and 55, and then it's Mellors Elliott Motorsport, car number 5, and AFK Racing, car number 22 on row number 5. Row 6 is made up of Calamity and Commotion race teams. That is 121 and 141. Then it is car number 11, 11 Tenths Racing, and car number 1, Burton Power Racing, lining up on row 7. Row 8 of the grid is Cadoodle Doo Racing. They've got Semprini Racing for company alongside car 95 and 37. Then it is car number 64, Autotech Motorsport, with Orca Sport alongside 64 and 74. Row 10 of the grid is made up of LDR Performance Tuning and Cadoodle 2. That is 49 and 94, followed by the Essex and Kent Motorsport team and NJM Racing Limited, car 38 and car 2 on row 11. Row 12 of the grid is Graves Motorsport and North Motorsport, 44 and 148, followed then by Glory Car and No Nonsense Racing, 1, 2, 6 and 18 on row 13 of the grid. Row 14 of the grid is made up of car number 3, Wingat Racing, and car number 27, Semprini Racing. And on the 15th and final row of the grid, Porsche Carrera Motorsport, who've been hard at work throughout the night, car number 96. And alongside is car number 6, previously entered as NJM Racing, dubbed Right Side Up Racing this weekend. As we had, I think it was it David Murphy that put it on? No, I think it was Marcus Buckle behind the wheel at the time, who found the sausage curb going through the final corner. In doing so, the car it was no longer sunny side up, and unfortunately Jamie Moore at NJM Racing, at half of NJM Racing, went out, bought a previously raced car, raced 2 years ago. They've managed to get that car race built and prepped over the night. It was still had all of the work done to it, but it was all prepped, and has been provided a makeshift livery on that car, and he's out running, starting at the very back row of the grid. So let's see how the start goes. Will it be Pro-Am Racing? Will it be Milnair Racing that get the best start? It's Catastrophe and Shine Automotive on row number 2. We've got some good names we need to keep an eye on throughout this race as well. Marcus Clutton, notably, in car number 95. Marcus Clutton and Lee Taylor, of course. Marcus yesterday was racing an Audi R8 at Donington Park in the British Endurance Championship. Red lights are on. Who's going to get the best start? As they go out, we'll go racing for another 3 hours in the EnduroKA series. Lights out, off we go, and it's a good start from Ollie Fernell. He was quicker on the uptake of the lights. Car number 180, Shine Automotive, are trying to work their way through as well. That will either be Thomas or Adrian Woods behind the wheel, but Ollie Fernell, is he going to maintain that lead? Maybe not, actually, because Jack Rice is trying to find the grip all the way around the outside at turn 1. The pair of them still side by side as they climb up the hill on the run towards Wilson. So on the brakes, so much later on the brakes is Jack Wright, pitches the car in towards Wilson, up onto 3 wheels, and Milnair Racing in the early stages of the race up into the lead.
A really good stuff there. It's going to battle side by side in towards Richards, and of course these cars are so small compared to other cars you may find in the UK motorsport club racing scene. You were able to go 3 wide, potentially 4. I've seen 4 wide in these cars before. There's a famous picture at Donington Park from last year where they go 4 wide in towards Redgate, and it's an absolutely brilliant image. Or it might be was that last year, or it might be the year before, or bit of contact there. I think that's the 55 Cash App Racing fighting their way up the inside, but it looks like the Milnair Racing with a big lead in this one, or a little bit of jumping there. And I think that's the 151 heading through with the Kahunas. You may be able to spot there if you're right down next to that 333 car. They've got Costa Kritzis' name flipped upside down. I think there's a couple of lockups there, just trying to avoid everyone. I think the main thing you have to do on this first lap is keep it not keep it side by side, keep it clean is the main kind of thing going in towards Williams. I've almost seen 3 cars going at it there, so you can see by the batting already it's like they're not giving any spaces between each other. There's the Burton Power team trying to charge all the way in towards the chicane, but look at that lead from Milnair Racing. They've got an absolute rocket ship of a start. I think Ollie Fernell is starting to go a little bit well, not defensive, but he's saving a little bit for the later stages. He's playing the long run here, trying to save a little bit of fuel, because the GM Performance car, the 81 of Ian Mitchell and Darren Stapleton, that car unfortunately was not involved in practice, so they were all on the jacks. They had no wheels on the car, so unfortunately for them, they were not able to they weren't able to take part in the practice session. But they've already looked like it's a super strong start, and really looking forward to seeing how this kind of pans out. Walk a car off onto the grass there. That's I believe the 55 alongside the 333, so they power their way over the timing line. The 54 there with a big old lead, and there is the 81 in the slipstream. Now Ollie Fernell's leading his own train, and we're now about to see 3 wide going in towards Richards, almost going into 4 wide. They wanted to be potential, but this is absolutely chaos. But this is the lead that you expect from KA Racing. So much pack racing involved. They head on towards the right-hander at the hairpin. Car off onto the outside grass there. That's the 141 of Commotion. So unfortunately, Commotion, calamity for Commotion in that one, and they've dropped from 12th all the way to the back.
Yeah, Daniel Edwards, not the start he would have liked, so you'd have thought the race will try and settle down, but I think a bit of contact on the way into Ritchie's at turn 1, just spun that car through the best part of 360 degrees. Andy Burton and Tommy Valentine. It's Tommy Valentine behind the wheel of the Burton Power racing machine. They are still in that mid-pack, trying to carve their way through. At the moment, Tommy Valentine over the line in what was 13th place. I don't know whether they will have picked up a place with the spinning commotion car. I'm guessing they will have done come the end of this lap. Kahuna's Racing are still trying to carve their way through the order as well. They currently have Ian Perkins behind the wheel. They're defending and attacking all at the same time. They've got Alex Tentori just sat behind them, as well as Ollie Mellors just sat behind them. They're also trying to catch up on to the tail of the GM Performance car that is slightly further up the road, the number 81 machine, that being Gary Mitchell. Of course, we'll have to wait and see who is going to be behind the wheel of the number 95 machine, that being Marcus Clutton. Let's have a quick look. Now, Lee Taylor has started that car, so they might put Marcus in for the final 2 hours. But for the moment, it is now down to racing pretty much resumed as it was yesterday. So even if you were 5 or 6 laps down yesterday, you pick up where you left off. So it's not like somebody won a race yesterday. It is just, we were in theory racing all the way through the night. That's how it works. So it's a 6-hour race, but split into 2. So effectively it red flags instead of checkered flags, and then it picks up today. So if you are on the tsl-timing.com page, you will see drivers, it still says they're on lap 68. Absolutely they are. They have picked up from exactly where they left off yesterday timing wise. So drivers are going out and potentially completing their sort of first laps in the car by way of David Murfitt. Absolutely, he started that number 6 machine in Marcus Buckle. They are completing their first racing laps. The cars that we may have seen retire from yesterday's aspect of the race are back out in this race. So we're starting to see again a few more drivers that we may not have seen yesterday back out and running. Milnair Racing quite rightly said in the chat, running away with this 2-minute 40.011 in the height of today's temperature. That isn't that bad at all. Bearing in mind yesterday they had a 2-minute 38.264. So still, 1.8 seconds away, but temperatures are high, the fuel load is high, don't forget, so that will affect them very slightly. Ian Perkins' transponder started to play around just a little bit there in the Kahuna's race team car. He dropped down the order but does remain in 7th place. Everybody's now, I think, starting to level off and find out exactly where they need to be for effectively the hour of their stint, hour and a half of their stint, because we've had a spin on the exit of turn 1. Not exactly sure who that was. They've kicked a load of dirt up into the air. We didn't quite pick out who it was at the time. We'll be able to confirm that for you in a few moments' time when they come back through and past us on the run towards Agostini. But for the moment, picking up where we left off, it's very much a similar story to yesterday.
It really, really is, and really looking forward to seeing how this kind of pans out there. You can see the number 5 team up against the 22, I think, AFK Racing that is leading in that particular battle. But yeah, it looks like Jack Wright in that car for the number 46 leading the way and a good margin. But yeah, Gary Mitchell of course started that number 81 GM Performance at the beginning of yesterday's race, but are now starting to find themselves in a bit of a they're starting to find themselves in a bit of a situation of trying to get their way into the lead. But I think they're going to have to play the long game, but it's very, very difficult when they have that P3 car of the Shine Automotive car right on their rear bumper. So it's going to be very, very difficult for them to try and make gains, especially without that slipstream. But with Shine Automotive looking really, really strong there with Woods in the car. I think there's going to be some really top pass on the course. Alexander in that number 12 Pro-Am racing car. He's just doing the best he possibly can in his car, but evidently he's having a few issues from behind.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was Ollie in the car. I was looking through the driver's side window, and it looked like more like a silver helmet, but at least from what I remember at Silverstone. At the start of this year, he had a white helmet, so I don't know whether he's upgraded mid-season and got a helmet which is compatible with the radio system in the car. Back over the line goes Milnair Racing and Jack Wright in the lead of this race, shortly followed by the Shine Automotive car. That will be either, again, Tom or Adrian Wood, who is sat there, in theory, in 2nd place on the road. But once everything levels out by way of yesterday's race, it is still Ollie Fernell in 2nd place. So if you see the order that has changed around slightly, it's because the TSL timing is keeping us up to date with yesterday's gaps. So Ollie Fernal is in theory in second place, with the 1-3-1 machine Robert Thomas for Catastrophe in second place. The Tom and Adrian Wood car, who's running second on the road, is fourth on the timing screen. Ian Perkins, I don't think he was the one to have the spin. That or the transponder is still playing around, but let's see if the TSL timekeepers do shuffle him up through the order. I don't think we've got any more cars coming towards us, so again I think it was just that his transponder not pinging as he broke the beam.
Yeah, unfortunately there for them. Not ideal. A couple of manoeuvres being made up the inside. Hopefully not too much contact. We've got a bit of a laggy screen at this moment in time, so I'll be honest, I can't get got the full picture, but it looks like it is quite clean so far. Not much contact going through there. And they'll head through Hamilton as they head on towards Oggie's corner. It doesn't look like there's been too many bashes received, and it looks like the Pro-Am car still in the lead in that one. That battle in behind, that group of cars is really starting to get very much all hair and square, and they're really starting to pull out on the pressure for all of them. And just having a look down at YouTube chat, yes, these cars are very, very fun. If you want to come down to Brands Hatch for the Full Power Live or the IndyCar 500, then just ask any of these cars and they'll tell you that it's very, very physical. It's very, very fun though. So they'll let you know that for free. The 333 has been in, so unfortunately for them, potentially receiving a couple of issues for the Kahuna's race team. They've got Ian Perkins and Phil Truman in the car for that one.
Yeah, the good thing is you can go and find out, really, can't you? Car number 38 as well, receiving a mechanical warning flag. Essex and Kent Motorsport not really having the weekend that they wanted. Lewis and Nathan Kent, they have received a black and orange flag for a mechanical issue. Semprini Racing, unfortunately, they have come to a stop somewhere out there on circuit. That looks like it's on the inside, and that will be why. Essex and Kent Motorsport with a bumper, desperately trying to part ways with the car as that works its way in towards the final corner. Will they come in? And I think we've had another car go off at the final corner. It all looks very smoky indeed, or very dusty as they went through the final corner. Essex and Kent Motorsport stay out on circuit and go on towards another lap. Semprini Racing are stopped on the inside of Williams, heading on towards the back straight. And unfortunately, the brand new car that Jamie Moore purchased yesterday to get that car, or get NJM Racing back out, or Right Side Up Racing we'll go with, out today. Unfortunately, mechanical issues are going to put that car into at least a pretty much on the back foot, because that car has completed 3 laps all weekend. Those 3 laps have been completed in this race, unfortunately. Hopefully not retirement, but again, on the back foot and potentially back to the paddock.
I'm sure the team down there would love me to say in this comment, but at least it's on its right side up. At least it's, in fact, on its all 4 wheels rather than its roof. So there you go, team, down in the garage. So I know they're currently watching that. We've got a spin there. The 151 has in fact had a spin there as well. So more problems all throughout the field, and it's looking to be quite the hot conditions. It seems to be very, very sweaty down there. I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot of sweaty drivers hopping out the cars very, very swiftly as they continue to make their way. A flashing green flag, so potentially someone has gone off. So it might be the 151 we saw on our screens earlier. Flash spinning away, so that will be the Indy all clear. But there is just peering over my right shoulder, and we've just seen the 46 go through, and then there it goes, the 81 as well, and then we see the entire cluster of cars, and then we see some of those more at the back just approaching the left-hander of Agostini's and on towards the technical section of Hamilton and Oggy. And of course, some of those cars, of course, haven't got the times in them. Of course, some of those cars are a little bit, they don't have the same kind of driver class as the likes of them. Your Johnny Milners, your Jack Milners, your Gary Mitchells, your Ian Mitchells, your Darren Stapletons, and all the good teams that are up at the top of the stages. And there was the number 6 making its way back to the pit lane, but it was unfortunate to see that car pull off to the side of the road. There was some very, very funny scribbling that's happened down on that car. So if you're here in the paddock and you want to go and have a look at that car, just see all the scribblings that's happened on that car. I'm sure the team will be more than happy to tell you what they've put on that car. Nothing rude. I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, there'll be nothing rude put on that car. But yeah, you can just see from the pen scribbles that they've really had fun. I saw pictures from last night, and they were literally like kids at home alone. When you come home from a long day, you found out your kids scribbled on your wall.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly how they feel, because I was stood in the garage whilst they were scribbling away. Charlie there, one of their mechanics, was working away on that one as well, spent quite a lot of time. And unfortunately, we've had a car spin around as well. Castrap's Racing, unfortunately, on the run in towards Wilson's. They seem to get that car looking back towards Ritchie's. Essex and Kent Motorsport have got their car into the pit lane, removing that front bumper, and are trying to get that car back out as quickly as possible to minimise any further time loss. So as Castrap's Racing return to the circuit after their misfortune, Essex and Kent Motorsport do exactly the same. And we're waiting for TSL timing to effectively catch up with today's race, because TSL is showing us the continuation of yesterday, but on the live stream obviously is showing us those on-track positions as they sit now. Adrian Wood for Shine Automotive sat there in second place. They then have the GM Performance car of Gary Mitchell sat there in third place, followed by Alex Tentori. And Alex, I thought, was racing. Whereabouts has he gone? I did have him on the entry list, peeked out earlier. Castrap's Racing, that car that spun, unfortunately, just a moment ago. Alex Tentori was in fourth place. I don't think that will remain the same. Lee Taylor for Graves Motorsport and Cadoodle-Doo, they are sat in what is fifth place. Ollie Fernal dropped to ninth from pole position today. That's not exactly where he wanted his race to go.
Yeah, but I believe that it might be a potential maybe fuel save. We'll have to try and bring him up and question him on that. Oh, that's a bit of a mistake. I think that's the Orca Sport number 74 going off with that one. So they've had a bit of an issue. There is the Orca Sport just going past the camera. But yeah, I think what's happening with pro racing, and I'm sure they'll correct me in chat, or I'm sure they'll find their way out to tell me off on this one. But potential fuel saving as well, because I'm thinking about the long game. In this one,
see why they would fuel save substantially. They'd save more running in a pack than they would sort of lifting off. And the thing is, with these cars, they're all about momentum. So 2 seconds a lap slower, that's a lot of fuel saving, and it's so easily lost and so hard to gain back. So it could just be Ollie struggling to find his rhythm today, because it is very hot. We cannot stress that enough. It is very hot. But I know they don't turn their heater on to keep the engine cool. So we'll wait to see as to exactly what's going on. And unfortunately, car number 12 being provided with track limits warning. So Ollie Fernal, I don't know whether that's whilst he's in that pack, just slightly wandering over an outside track limit. Semprini Racing, they have moved their car, that looked like, towards Hamilton, and yes it is. So the yellow flag's being waved on the exit of Agostini, meaning the Semprini Racing car is on the outside of the entry towards Hamilton. David Evans, he's not going to be best pleased with that one, because he will have to sit there and wait for that vehicle to be recovered. But the trouble is, where it is, somebody's going to have to try and squeeze their way along the service road that leads them straight down the back straight and then into the paddock, through the top of the paddock. So he'll be waiting there a while.
Call me silly on this one, but potentially maybe could a cylinder be gone pop on the number 12?
No, absolutely, it'll be 2-cylinder then, and we'd definitely hear that. I don't think, no, we would definitely hear it from the commentary box, 100%, and it would not be running if it had a major engine failure, which that would have been. No, I think it is still running on all cylinders, but I don't think it will be anything massively serious. It could just be struggling to find his rhythm today. But Ollie Fernal, he's been warned about track limits, no penalty applied. But I'd imagine we'll see a couple more of those. The Semprini car still sat and waiting to be recovered, being covered by localised yellows. Again, a massive thank you to our marshals in the baking heat of today, doing a sterling job. Returning to the circuit, however, right side up racing, NJM Racing for their veteran David Murphy and Marcus Buckle, sharing that car throughout today, so it's nice to see that car being repaired and straight back out there effectively. This is the first time that car has been in a racing situation in the last 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, that's really mega to know that these cars, there's some teams deciding to come back to the championship, which is always nice to know, because it seems to be a very popular series. It seems to be one of the cheap series that you can race, and hopefully a lot of KAs out there, but deciding to potentially run dry in the more years this becomes an aging car. So potential upgrades in the future. But yeah, we want these KAs to continue. We want the EnduroKA championship to continue. We just need to make sure that these cars do stay cheap. We do need to make sure that these kind of stay as a KA, but of course they're not the fastest car, which kind of makes this fun. They're not fast whatsoever. Not made to, go up to 100 miles an hour or 120. Not meant to. They're not designed to be cornered at a high speed. They're meant to be pretty much road cars, and slow road cars if that.
Well, you say they're not meant to go to 100 miles an hour. Beg to differ. 3 figures is well and truly possible in one of these Enduro cars, and the good thing is there is quite a logical stepping stone from here. When KA prices, second-hand KA prices, are getting steep because people are racing them, more are getting written off, more parts are required. Naturally, the demand goes up, the supply is going down, the price is going to go up. That's just basic economics. There is the next mark up, effectively the Mark II KA, which they can move to. Granted, at the moment, I don't think it's quite within the price range to be classified as budget, but I do think that we will see potentially in the near future involvement, or at least movement, to the newer mark of Ford KA. We're starting to see that in sister series where they race Citroen C1s, Peugeot 106s and Toyota Aygos, moving to the next generation of car up to keep costs down, because effectively it will get to a point where the older car supersedes the newer car. Purely by way of supply and demand for parts and chassis. But for the moment, hopefully there's not too much of that required this weekend. Maybe just a couple of bumpers here and there and a couple of wings, but nothing too substantial. I've got to say, it has been very, very clean. We've seen some fabulous racing all weekend long.
We have, and it's been so entertaining to see these cars out there at this moment in time, just looking all the way through that grid, seeing how many cars are right on each other's bumpers. You've seen that right in your camera view, because of course we see I think the other Semprini racing team, and of course seeing a load of close cars, and the safety car has been called, in fact, for this one, as it has just gone out of our commentary, just past our commentary box and on towards Richie, so this is going to stop.
The pit lane will get busy now, I'd have thought, because they do have to serve penalty. They do have to serve pit stops, as you would expect. And sometimes you might think, oh well, somebody may have only spent 20 minutes in the car. Yes, absolutely, they may have only spent 20 minutes in the car, and they may not be over the moon for being taken out of the car, but that's just the way it works. If you can get effectively what is a free pit stop, or a massively minimised pit stop, time-wise, by going into the pit lane under the safety car, absolutely do it. It will save you so much time, and that can be the difference between winning and losing in the EnduroKA series. But let's be honest, everybody is here for a laugh. You will never see anybody jump out of one of these cars without a smile on their face, and it's brilliant. It's amazing to see. Lee Taylor, he's having a good old race, isn't he, in the number 95 Cadoodle-Doo car. He's up into second place. The safety car will bring him within touching distance of Milnair Racing, but of course what it will also do is very shortly be handed over to Marcus Clutton, I would imagine, if that car comes into the pit lane. And Marcus Clutton, he's raced McLarens in the British GT Championship. He was racing an Audi R8 at Donington Park yesterday in the British Endurance Championship. So he knows what he's doing in racing machinery. He's raced KAs before. He tested this KA on Friday, and let's say the timing screens, you'd have to rub your eyes just to make sure you were looking at the right lap time, and that's kind of driver Marcus Clutton is. We're looking forward to seeing him behind the wheel. David Evans, his car is yet to be recovered. That would somewhat explain the safety car being called out. So the safety car field picking its way through Agostini. I can see you walking your way down there, Adam. We do have the NJM car, and that looks like a planned pit stop by the looks of it. They've dived into the pit lane. I think they're doing a driver change. I haven't seen them do any fuel, but that looks planned.
They have been here for a while, I believe. Also, just want to kind of continue on your kind of extend your point of you never see these guys jump out with a frown on their face. They always have a big old smile to them, and of course it's always a bit of fun. It is always a great amount of fun to be out there in these cars. I'm just having a look here, right up where you're racing, but it does look like they're pushing that car into the garage. It looks like it's not a planned stop. That is going into the gallery with a potential change. Pit stop's going to be very, very important. We saw that especially yesterday with that Milnair Racing, car versus that, of course, Pro-Am racing car, the 12 versus the 46, and of course, Pro-Am getting that pit stop on point. Your point of potentially seeing Marcus Clutton in the car. Let me just walk over here because I thought I saw him in a t-shirt and shorts at this moment in time. I think he just disappeared. He was right next to me, and I think he's gone and disappeared. So I don't know if he's going to go and put on his race suit or if he's going to.
I'm guessing that may be what he's going to do, jumping into the back of the Graves Motorsport lorry. Ready to get suited and booted. So the safety car remains out, obviously, with David Evans and the Semprini racing car out there on circuit, potentially in a dangerous spot. So if you outbrake yourself, lose control on the way into Hamilton, all of a sudden you will find the Semprini car. But that car has been retrieved and taken out of the way, meaning the safety car lights have come off and the race is about to get underway. So with the safety car lights off, the safety car will peel its way into the pit lane. There's a couple of team members in the pit lane, I think, ready to receive cars. So they've made that call with the safety car being there, and I think we may end up with a couple of cars coming in. Or they will just bite their tongue and wait for potentially another safety car period, or wait for others to blink. Over the line goes Jack Wright, leading the way, and he will continue to do so. However, Lee Taylor still giving chase. Safety car comes all the way down the pit lane, and no callers in. That surprises me, but I guess now we've gone back under green flag conditions, the advantage in which they would have gained has very much disappeared. You will have to try and grab a word with Jamie Moore, or at least a mechanic down there in the number 6 NJM racing garage. Obviously, I would guess they are very busy indeed trying to get that car back out there, but at least to shine some light on what they think the suspected issue may be. But Jack Wright under big pressure from Lee Taylor now, so he's got to worry about what's going on in his rearview mirror, and it is going to be further down the order as well. Whereabouts has Ollie Fernell dropped down to? Down into 12th place, and he's got Leon Bidgeway sat behind him. Yesterday, as the race closed out, Leon was in exactly the same situation, albeit he had Jack Wright breathing down his neck and closing in. So, or it was George Wright at that time. So we'll wait and see as to what Leon can do. Leon is a very quick driver, very experienced behind the wheel of one of these Enduro cars. Do you have any news from the pit lane, Adam?
Nothing just yet. The NJM racing team are currently in the pit lane, but just having a look at the garage garage number 2. I'm hoping he doesn't hear me, but Marcus Clutton is in fact in a hat, a t-shirt. Well, it looks like a jumper, a fleece in fact. So don't know where he's. Don't know why that's on him, but yeah, he's in shorts and a hat. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the race suit. Unless there's been radio communication saying that, we're not going to come into the pit lane. Yeah. We do have somebody heading in, and I'm sure you can confirm. I think that's the NJM, so I'm going to dash out of the way.
As we look coming into the pit lane, absolutely, that is one of the NJM ran cars, car number 2, so they will come in. That is Peter Simmons and Alan King, so they have come in. Alan King behind the wheel. Does that look planned? The bonnet has come up. What can you see?
At the moment, they've put a cloth down there, like doing a little bit of cleaning. I'm quite sure. Let me see if I can get my foot in, my head in. Playing with something. Let's be the wires. It's actually not connected.
Yeah, it's.
Can't seem to. Okay. managed to get it started. So a potential fix on the engine. I'll see if I'll dash up back to you, and then I'll try and get a word in.
Yeah, I think that was an electrical issue of some sort. We now may see a change for the lead because Lee Taylor on an absolute mission. He's trying to work his way around the outside of Jack Wright by the time we arrive at turn 1. It isn't going to work. Jack Wright maintains his position. Leon Bidgeway is still giving chase, and Ollie Fernall, he's had a second wind, working his way all the way around the outside of Andy Burton now. So Andy Burton potentially losing out to Ollie Fernall, and I'm afraid Essex and Kent Motorsport back into the pit lane.
Yeah, they're back into the pit lane. It seems like to replace that front bumper, so they're going to do a little bit of a change on this one that is right in front of me. In fact, I think they're also going to do a driver change. In fact, they do. So that looks like the TCR UK champion from 2021, Lewis Kent, getting out, and Nathan Kent will be getting in that one. Looking back at the NJM number 2 machine, it looks like an ignition line was a little bit loose in that one, so they just had to quickly fix that. Otherwise, of course, you know, the ignition wouldn't work in that one. I'm getting away from a certain 96 team that I've had previous experiences with, so I'm going to chill at this end of the pit lane, more towards your end.
Great stuff, no worries, I understand. Porsche Carrera Motorsports, they were having clutch issues yesterday. They were looking for, I think it was clutch fluid or gearbox fluid yesterday. Pushed back out onto the active lane of the pit lane is the NJM Racing right side up racing machine, and back out onto circuit they will go. Porsche Carrera Motorsport go over the line now, and will continue on for another lap. By way of the race leaders, they have already worked their way on towards Brundle and Nelson, but Ollie Fernall, he's pushing on now, isn't he? He's just trying to close the margin to the cars up the road. Castrap Racing and Alex Tentori have lost a couple of places since we last looked. Ollie Fernall is really trying to apply that pressure on towards Andy Burton. Andy Burton is doing the same to Nick Creed, who in turn is doing the same to Joey DiPrato. But for the moment, Jack Wright in the lead of this race. He's doing everything he needs to do to remain in front of Lee Taylor. Essex and Kent Motorsports have got their car back rolling and back towards us. If you can grab a word with Lewis Kent, it would be great to hear what he thinks of the EnduroKA series and exactly how he's dealing with the hot temperatures that we're experiencing here at Snetterton this weekend. Back over the line comes Jack Wright and Lee Taylor in a couple of moments' time, absolutely nose to tail. Very little separates the pair of them, so they go through, and there is only a tenth of a second between them. Lee Taylor will have to be careful not to sit behind him for too long, because the engine temperatures will start to spike over the next hour or two. Ollie Fernall will be trying to do the same, as he's now through and past Andy Burton and already onto the coattails of Nick Creed and trying to bridge the gap up to Joey DiPrato. So it's getting rather busy out there, absolutely. We'll wait and see as to exactly how the order shuffles out come the first pit window, which should be arriving in around about 28 minutes time. And it's not a specified pit window, it's just when we expect to see those cars come in. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Anywhere from 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes is when we usually see the pit lane become rather congested. That's how long you can tend to get out of a tank of fuel. So all 35 litres would have been drained. As we look further down the order, who do we have that's starting to work their way into a likeable position? Now I'm going to keep an eye on the 1110s racing machine, because Paul Pearce is behind the wheel at the moment. That car went very well yesterday, currently down in 16th place, but not that far behind the number 74 Orca Sport machine, and Roger Hassan, who is behind the wheel. That's got 4 drivers today, I think it's Roger Hassan, Michael Davies, Peter Child and Guy Wilkinson, unless that has changed, but I know they've brought 4 drivers with them this weekend. And Adrian Wood behind the wheel of the 180 Shine Automotive machine, currently sat there in 3rd place. They've got Gary Mitchell not that far behind them, so it's 2 for the lead and effectively 2 for the final step on the podium at the moment. Kahuna's Racing and Ian Perkins haven't got the day off or this race off to the way they would have liked to. Car number 126 out there as well. That's got, who does it have behind the wheel? Ben Stone. He was the amendment to programme, so Ben Stone being called in last minute to get behind the wheel of that car. They are trying to carve their way through the order. Currently sat down there in 17th place. Adam, if you can grab a word with Lewis Kent, of course, as you say, 2021 TCR UK champion, it will be good to hear his perspective, not only on the conditions but on the car as well. His weekend hasn't exactly gone to plan, and now they are becoming laps traffic for Jack Wright and Lee Taylor. They go through in what is first and second place. There isn't a minimum pit stop time, so we saw it yesterday, Pro-Am Racing, with 25 seconds gained, or best part of 25 seconds, closest to 20 seconds really, gained in a pit stop over Milner Racing, which gave them the margin they needed to get to the checkered flag first. Over the line in a few moments' time will go our race leaders. There they go, Jack Wright and Lee Taylor absolutely together. Unfortunately, Right Way Up Racing are back into the pit lane after not that car, its predecessor at NJM Racing ended up on its roof in qualifying, so this is effectively the first few laps that that side of the garage have completed. The other side of the garage, car number 2, have been running rather successfully throughout this weekend so far, albeit are now at a tricky point in the order. They want to go further up the order. They're also struggling and are slightly hampered by those cars up the road, and are carrying, I think, a bit of a downward spiral from yesterday. But Milner Racing and Jack Wright all over the coattails of Nathan Kent. Nathan Kent sees the cars arriving in the background and jumps out of the way, so Jack Wright continues to lead the way, and Lee Taylor, clearly happy enough, sat there in second place, just running around and biding his time and trusting that Graves Motorsport can potentially gain a bit of time in the pit lane once the pit stoppers effectively start. That will be around about 25, sort of 45 minutes time, anywhere in that window. We expect to see the pit lane become very congested indeed. Adrian Wood still sat there in second place, and he's doing everything he can to fend off the attentions of Gary Mitchell and GM Performance, but first and second are together, third and fourth are together, and then it's anyone's guess for that mid-pack. We've got 4 or 5 cars separated by only a couple of seconds, and Ollie Fernell for Pro-Am Racing is leading that little charge. He's found his rhythm and is back up to 9th place. He's worked his way through and past Andy Burton Power Racing. He's fended off the attentions of Leon Bidgeway and Wingat Racing. He's worked his way through and past not only Alex Tentori in Castrop Racing, but also Nick Creed in the AFK racing car. So Ollie Fernell at present is doing absolutely everything he needs to do to control that mid-pack. We've had a personal fastest lap of the race from the 131 machine. That's Robert Thomas, who has posted a 2-minute 39.757, one of the only drivers today to break into the 2-minute 39 barrier. And of course, today in the hotter conditions, the track isn't providing as much grip as the slightly cooler conditions we saw yesterday. And of course, the cars may not be so comfortable in these conditions. 2 hours and 23 minutes of this race remaining. Given the situation yesterday, at this stage in the race, it was very, very close indeed. Exactly the same situation today. Adam, if you are down there and you have a word, I can't quite figure out exactly where you've gone to. I was trying to pick you out and guide you up the pit lane as to where you may have ended up, but can't quite spot you at the moment. Ollie Fernell has ran away somewhat from Andy Burton, and in doing that is starting to close the gap up to Ollie Mellors. Last time through, Ollie Fernell with a 2-minute 40.009 compared to Ollie Mellors up the road, a 2-minute 41.6. So 1.6 seconds gained on the car up the road in just the previous lap alone. Personal fastest lap of the race goes the way of Jack Wright with a 2-minute 39.590. A similar lap goes the way of Adrian Wood with a 2-minute 39.580. So those top 3 are lapping very, very closely indeed. As we will wait and see as to how all this is going to play out over the next 2 hours and 22 minutes. So with 2 hours 22 minutes remaining, we look further down the order as to who we could potentially see carving their way through the order. Joey DePrato has picked his way through and past Ollie Mellors. I think with all of that battling going on, it's allowing Ollie Fernall just to close in yet more. Over the line in a few moments' time, we will see our race leaders. They are just working their way through. Brundle and Nelson, then in towards the bomb hole. In the background, Adrian Wood seems to be looming large and closing in on our top two. We could see the top three fighting away, and as the top three arrive, so too will GM Performance and Gary Mitchell. Into the pit lane, we have Porsche Carrera Motorsport. So I'd imagine you're probably in their garage chatting away. If you can grab a word with whether it be a mechanic or driver, or just figure out exactly what is going on with that team, it would be great to have some input from the pit lane, please, Adam. Through the final corner, we get our top two, and now they are side by side. They've stopped working together, and Lee Taylor, he's looking for the lead, working his way through and past Jack Wright, drawn absolutely level over the line. As they break the beam, Lee Taylor is classified as now in the lead by 65 thousandths of a second, but all of a sudden Jack Wright is coming back at him in towards turn one, and Jack Wright holds on to this race lead on the run through Ritchie's. They are going to start compromising each other very slightly. Ollie Fernall is continuing to run away from the cars behind and close in on the cars up the road. Last time through with a 2-minute 39.832, so he has closed in by around about 0.4 of a second to the cars up the road, but Lee Taylor into the lead of this race as he crossed the line, and now it's Milner Racing and Jack Wright who's managed to get back into the lead. So those two fighting away. He's only going to run away. Well, what he'll want to do is run away from Lee Taylor, but for the moment, Lee is being the thorn in his side. Porsche Carrera Motorsport in the pit lane, having a chat with their driver, figuring out exactly what is going on with their car. Clearly not all is well. So back out onto circuit, go Porsche Carrera Motorsport. We're hearing, thank you Adam, that Semprini Racing have had a kill switch issue, which leads me to think, yeah, that's more electrical than anything else, and it's just cutting the electric in that car. I can hear a car around here somewhere. I'm guessing that may be somebody in the paddock that's moving around. Kahuna's Racing go back over the start-finish line and onto another lap of the race. They have had a slightly compromised race compared to, I think, what they would have wanted. So we'll wait and see as to how their race potentially improves over the next 2 hours and 19 minutes. Car number 74, Orca Sport, has been grabbing the attentions of the stewards, maybe not in the way they would have liked for extending track limits. So they have received their first warning. And we'll have to be careful of that one throughout this aspect of the race. We have a quick look, and we have car number 96 dropping a little bit down the order. That is Porsche Carrera Motorsports. Of course, they have just been into the pit lane. Ben Smithwell was behind the wheel. No Nonsense Racing, car number 18. They've dropped a couple of places in the lap prior. That'll be Dominic Jackson behind the wheel. And doing that as well, North Motorsport have dropped away just a little bit over the previous laps. So Ross Restwell, unfortunately, not picking up the places I think he is destined for throughout the rest of his stints. The top two work their way in towards turn one once again. Jack Wright placing the car in the middle of the road, not giving Lee Taylor any room to breathe, and making it as hard work as possible for Lee Taylor. We will see how this will continue to evolve over the next couple of laps, because of course we need to be bearing in mind that the temperatures are high. There is still potential for a safety car. Hopefully we don't see one, but there is still potential for one. There's plenty of strategy to take place, and still 2 hours and 17 remaining. Adam, you're down in the pit lane.
I am down in the pit lane, and somebody's having a conversation is Lewis Kent, so I'll give him a bit of a moment to have a discussion with the marshal about what's going on, and we'll talk about kind of that opening stint. And there is Lewis. Lewis, not the most ideal start for you. It was a bit of a tough one out there.
Yeah, we were having a nice little battle. we slow down on power. It seems like every time we come out of a corner and try and get our legs going, we just have nothing. A lot of people are just driving back past us on the straight, and then we're catching them again in the corners. But yeah, we had a bit of an incident coming into the last corner. As I came out of the last corner, the car in front of me just slowed right up. I tried to take to the grass and had nowhere to go. Mounted the back of him, ripped the front bumper off, which wasn't ideal. Came in, took the bumper off, went back out. Thankfully the safety car came out. Started picking up a couple more places, and then got told I'd come back in to put the bumper back on, and thought we'd change the driver at the same time, which hopefully will work. I'm going to go for a long stint in the next one, do an hour long by myself, so in this heat it's probably not going to be nice, but we'll deal with it. But yeah, it's a bit of fun. That's all we're here for. We're not here to win, we're here to enjoy it. I've got an 18-year-old brother out there now who done 3 races in his life, and that's all we're here for, is just to get him a bit of experience. You know, I'm out next weekend at Silverstone, back in my Civic, so that's sort of the thing that I concentrate on. This is just a bit of fun, but yeah, not ideal for us. But we're still there, still going round, which is good. Hopefully we're still doing that in about 2 hours' time.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit of heat, because we're really trying to exuberate the amount of heat that's in the car, because I've been in those kind of situations where you open a door right next to them and it's just heat. Tell us about that, of how it's burnt in there.
Yeah, it's see, I've done a lot of hot racing before. The hottest I've done was probably Paul Ricard. It was 42 degrees out of the car, and then a lot more inside. So yeah, for that, it was. It's not awful out there, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, we're probably going to have to dash on this one, because
Safety car.
we do have a safety car. We do have multiple cars coming into the pit lane, so I'll let Lewis Kent go, just so we don't get run over, because it does look like we have a team coming in. That's going to be EnduroKA Sport turning into the garage. They've managed to just stop right in front of me as well. It looks like there's a Lollipop Man from Pro-Am Racing, so they're looking to potentially get their driver Ollie Fernal in. We've got the 141 in there, we've got the 121 in there as well. There's another car just over there as well. I think that's might be the 151, so the Calamity, the Catastrophe, and I'm sure you can fill in what those 3 are for me, Jack. But yeah, we're really starting to get a good amount of cars into the pit lane, starting to get very, very busy, and I think there's some cars that have come, that have stayed out, my apologies, that have decided to, as I said, stay out, because it's not quite either in their strategy, or they don't want to avoid a potential mix-up in the stop, because it can get very busy, it can get very congested. And if we do have about 30 KAs in the pits at once at a critical time, with everyone all around the car, then it could get pretty serious, with cars all about the place. And the last thing we want to do is end up with a car being smacked in the pit lane, because I have seen that on a stream before, and it doesn't really end well. So really need to be aware on that one, as it looks like the 141 does get pushed back. So did the 121. So potential issues. And it looks like whoop, there is the 121 with a little bit of wing damage, front bumper damage. The right-hand corner, the right front corner is slightly departing in that one. So if they take another 1 or 2 more bashes, or one big bash, that could really result in a potential looking into from the stewards room. So not an ideal situation in that one, but they won't care for now. Until they're called in, and that's when you've got to now take matters into your own hands and say, right, let's come in, let's get this changed, and let's get it all done and over with.
Yeah, so I can't see a reason as to exactly why drivers wouldn't pit, because they would save a lot of time. I can see there's a lot of teams out there ready to receive cars. Drivers are there kitted up. There's somebody directly behind you in full kit as well. There's a couple of drivers getting ready. Whether it does or doesn't work into your strategy, pitting under safety car is absolutely the way to go, because you save so much time, or you lose a lot less time. compared to what you would have lost serving a penalty or serving a pit stop, pardon me, underneath green flag conditions. So we look for the safety car queue, which is just heading its way through Brundle and Nelson now, and then it will be back towards us heading through Coreham. The safety car lights are still on. We'll keep an eye on that one as to exactly whether the safety car lights go off. The car that was unfortunately the reason for the safety car is currently being towed off the exit of the Wilson hairpin and then down towards Palmer's. Trying to pick out exactly who that is. We'll get the binoculars to look over, and unfortunately I think that's the LDR Performance Tuning car number 49, and unfortunately is going nowhere, or at least when it is, it's going to be on the back of a recovery lorry. So that's coming back towards the paddock area. The safety car lights are still on as the recovery unit is still on the circuit, so we are going to get another lap under safety car, you would imagine, which means the pit lane, Adam, is going to get very, very busy indeed. If you could talk us through any of the stops that you see, even if it's just a quick walk along deciding who is taking fuel, who isn't taking fuel. I'd imagine at this stage in the race we're going to see driver swaps for every car that comes in, and we're going to see fueling for every car that comes in. Looking down the pit lane, I can see Johnny Milner is all suited and booted and ready to jump into that race-leading Milner car. So he's doing some star jumps, getting himself all warmed up, jogging on the spot. Johnny Milner absolutely loving it. I can see George Wright stood there with him as well. So into the pit lane come Milner, into the pit lane effectively come the top five. So taking what would be the lead of the race on the circuit is Wingat Racing, but Johnny Milner's about to get strapped into that race-leading Milner car.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the 64 has come in at this moment in time. That's right in front of me. There goes the Pro-Am racing car, the 151. Nick Nunn was just to my right as well, so they're going to try and get Mark Holm out of the cars, waiting to see if they would pass one more time and then try and grab a word with Nick. If that was the case, they've got the 333s in for another time here as well. So let me just bring the microphone right up to my lips so you can now hear me better. Still the cars getting their refuel done. Looks like China Automotive have taken a short amount of fuel on. They're blasting their way down the pit lane. Also Milner have also exited the pit lane. Here comes Darren Stapleton and Ian Mitchell's 81 just passing by me right now. So they have managed to get their fuel stop done. A lot of active work being done by the cars, and the 333 have managed to get out. So they've just doing a quick driver change. I think that's going to be the case. A couple of commotions there from the 151. Now they can get Nick Nunn into the car. I think Mark Hong running around to see if he can get a little bit of help try and speed up the process of this. But I'm expecting maybe an interview or two. There goes No Nonsense Racing. They pass by me. And also it looks like the 64 are having a few issues in there. They're currently being having their sort of camera time. And there is Joey DePrato, in fact, to the left of me, give me a bit of a smile as well. Oh, Joey,
what's going on? What's happening to it?
A lot of pit stops, I can tell you that, Joey. Just passes just to the left of me now. But yeah, first thing's done for you. How's that going?
Oh, really good. It's the same mistake I did in the last interview yesterday. Yeah, I was on two wheels a lot more this race, well, this part of this race, which was a lot more fun, but probably not as quick, purely by accident. Where did I get up to, Dad? I got up to 6th. So yeah, started from 17th, got up to 6th. This was my first race start, even though it wasn't a proper one. Lost a few places just because I was trying to stay as safe as possible, and then managed to gain them again, and just played it patient, waited for cars to crash.
I'm sure there was a lot of action, but yeah, you've really kind of been in the frantic moments of the pit stops. Kind of tell us from your experience, because as a driver, you don't really get the whole kind of walk down the pit lane, have cars coming in front of you. You're just a driver who just gets out of the car and tries to help as much as possible.
It's very hectic and it hurts because I have to get out and get in as quick as possible, and then like you have to get strapped in, so you have to like wiggle around everywhere. It's a bit weird. But overall pretty calm-ish. Yeah, that's about it.
Similar to yesterday, how's the adrenaline?
I was still here. Yeah, heart's racing. I think it's like 200 and something, I don't know. Yeah, gonna get an energy drink now, which will make it worse now, but better in the long term, I think. And then I'll hop back in later. Yeah.
We'll go and let you go and do that, Joey. Of course, another interview between me and him. But a lot of action here down in pit lane here at Snetterton Circuit. Still many more hours to go, and I'm sure there's going to be so much more excitement.
Yeah, it seems like that is the case, because we have seen a change for what was the lead coming into the pit lane. Obviously, Johnny Milner has now got behind the wheel of the Milner racing machine. Cadoodle-Doo previously had Lee Taylor behind the wheel. Peering in from the window, we now have Marcus Clutton behind the wheel of the number 95 machine. They came out in front of the Milner racing car, so we should start to see the Milner racing car have a bit more work to do. Johnny is quick, so too is Marcus Clutton. Leon Bidgeway yet to pit. So too is the 126 machine. That has Ben Stone behind the wheel. We have Ross Restwell still to pit. Ross Folds yet to pit in the Cadoodle-2 car. And I think that is it by way of our top 4. They have not been into the pit lane. Everybody else, barring the LDR Performance Tuning car, has been into the pit lane. But obviously that car, unfortunately, was the cause of the safety car interruption. The yellow flags and safety car boards still being waved. The safety car lights remain on, so we will get at least one more lap of the safety car out there on circuit. We'll have a look around to see exactly where the LDR Performance Tuning car is, and it's just being tucked in behind Agostini at the moment, so the safety car potentially in come the end of this lap. But Leon Bidgeway on the circuit is leading the way. Ross Folds sat there in second place, followed then by Adam Bonham, Peter Child and Paul Pearce. So the top 2 yet to come into the pit lane. That's mainly because into the pit lane has come Ben Stone. So too has Ross Restwell. So the pair of those 2 into the pit lane. So that leaves, like I say, just those top 2 yet to pit. Adam Bonham has been into the pit lane. He's now, in theory, the leading car come the end of the those first round of pit stops. Adam Bonham leading the way in Catastrophe, then Peter Child in Orca Sport, Paul Pearce for 11 Tenths Racing sat there in what would be 3rd place, then Marcus Clutton in the Cadoodle-Doo car number 95 in 6th place, but what would have in theory be 4th. Johnny Milner now in 7th place on the road, 5th place come the end of pit stops. It surprises me that Leon Bidgeway and Ross Folds haven't come into the pit lane, because they've got at maximum, really, potentially with safety car interference, another half an hour of fuel. So they are now running the risk of pitting under green flag, which will cost them a lot more time than pitting under the safety car. The safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, so that whilst the safety car lights are still on, they should be switched off as it's just working its way out of the bomb hole and towards core, and we will be able to pick that up for you as and when it happens. But the safety car confirmed as coming in this lap, and we will be able to get this race back underway in just about a minute's time. So in the pit lane, we've still got the EnduroKA car sat down there. We still have, I think that may be it, I've got a feeling, Ben Stone has already got Ben Stone has got back out there. So too is the other car that came in. We can't quite pick out exactly who that was since they've been into the pit lane. So out of the pit lane goes EnduroKA, and Ben Stone will have jumped out of that car to hand over to either Neil Smith or Michael McCullum. That will be confirmed on the timing in just a few moments' time. Andy Burton behind the wheel of the Burton Power racing machine. But Leon Bidgeway and Ross Folds, they're going to be in what could be a lighter car than others. However, we didn't see many of the leaders really take fuel. I think the main notable one was Colin French when he came in behind the wheel of the Shine Automotive machine into the pit lane. They came and took a little bit of fuel and still came out in 9th place after pit stops. That should work out to be around about 7th. Safety car lights are off. We should be going back under green flag conditions come the end of this lap. So into the pit lane will come the safety car. Leon Bidgeway has gone so early and is trying to extend the margin straight away, hustling on the safety car towards the pit lane. Green flags at the ready, and back under green flag conditions we go. Back racing here at Snetterton with 2 hours and 3 minutes remaining. Staying out there is Leon Bidgeway. He goes over and breaks the beam. Then it is the first of the Cadoodle cars, this one being Cadoodle-2 with Ross Folds behind the wheel. Adam Bonham a little bit of a way away in that number 2 machine. If that's not the number 2 machine, it's going to be it will be the number 2 of Alan King, but he's a lap down and in that lead pack, so he might just claw back a bit of time here. Marcus Clutton immediately on the attack. He's trying to pick his way through and past Paul Pearce on the inside at turn 1, and straight up the inside he will go. He's now trying to hustle on the Essex and Kent Motorsport machine with Nathan Kent. So no expense spared for Marcus Clutton on an absolute mission straight at the drop of the green flag and trying to gain positions effectively immediately. So the LDR performance tuning car that was the cause of the safety car breaking down out there on circuit near Wilson has been recovered and should be back towards the pit lane. Unfortunately, we've got yellow flags heading through turn 1, I think was that. They have now just flicked to green, so I think whatever car had managed to come to some sort of strife has got back going once again. But Leon Bidgeway, what a start he has had after the safety car interruption. He's picking his way through Augies now with a monumental lead over the car behind, that being Ross Folds. As we quickly eye that up as they go through Augies, we're going to be looking at the best part of, what, 6 or 7 seconds Leon Bidgeway has gained since we went back green, and bearing in mind that's just on the exit of Sector 1, he's absolutely flying. Porsche Carrera Motorsport running slightly wide as well. A stop-go penalty has been awarded to the number 38 machine, so Essex and Kent Motorsport. I'm afraid, Lewis, I know we spoke to you earlier, Nathan Kent is going to have to come into the pit lane and serve a 1-minute stop-go penalty for causing an avoidable, or it says causing avoidable contact, I'm afraid. We do have the Pro-Am racing machine back out there and circulating. Whereabouts have they fallen into the mix there? Sat there in 8th place, not that far away from Johnny Milner, still trying to carve their way through the order. So Pro-Am Racing and Josh Benson, they are continuing to circulate and at a very quick rate indeed. We'll get the first confirmed laps coming through this time since we've gone back on the green flag conditions. I don't think there'll be any greens on the timing screen this time through, but you never know. With a change of driver, you might just about see a turn in pace. Josh Benson starting to apply a bit of pressure now onto the coattails of Johnny Milner. Johnny Milner in turn trying to do the same to Marcus Clutton slightly further up the road. Paul Pearce fighting his way up the inside of the Semprini racing machine. That will be Jeremy Hart behind the wheel. As we look down the order, it'll be James Hart, pardon me, it's Jeremy Evans and James Hart behind the wheel of both of the Semprini cars. So we will await Nathan Kent's arrival into the pit lane. Marcus Clutton over the line and his first lap behind the wheel. Fastest lap of the race, 2-minute 38.874. I said keep an eye on Marcus Clutton since getting behind the wheel of that car in the most recent pit stop. Straight into the 38. What a brilliant, that's a qualifying time. We haven't had a single 38, I don't think, today. No, we haven't. So a 2-minute 38.874 from Marcus Clutton. We expected nothing less from the famed McLaren GT driver, obviously racing an Audi R8 yesterday at Donington Park in the British Endurance Championship. He's had a busy weekend, a bit of a step down really, isn't it? Audi R8 GT car back into a Ford KA, and granted, as Adam said earlier, these Enduro cars don't exactly have monumental power figures. They're not going to spin the world the other way, but they are still such fun, and it really is a fabulous formula to get these cars racing so closely. So pitching the car in very aggressively is Marcus Clutton. You could just tell by the body language of that car that he is on a mission through the order. Up into 5th place now, and will continue to close down on those cars up the road. That's the best part of 6 seconds gained on the 2 cars in front of him, 7 seconds the car after that, and at least 1.5 seconds on the leader Leon Bidgeway, who is still yet to pit. Ross Folds and Leon Bidgeway yet to come in to the pit lane. So after pit stops, Marcus Clutton is not only the fastest car on the circuit, but currently in 3rd place and gaining 6.5 seconds on the cars up the road. You can't really complain, can you? So out of the pit lane comes the Auto Tech machine. Car number 64, it will be Matt Adams behind the wheel, having spoken to Joey DiPrato just a few moments ago. Black and white flag number 1 is going the way of car number 95. So the first warning going to Cadoodle Do, that being Marcus Clutton immediately picking up a track limits warning. I'm sure they will have to keep an eye on that as he's pitching his way in towards Brundle and Nelson through the right-hander, and then onto the short burst between the exit of Nelson and the entry in towards the bomb hole. We are a third of the way through this race now, so around about 35%. 1 hour and minutes remaining, says 34% on the TSL timing data. So we continue to tick away the laps. Leon Bidgeway will continue on. Here he comes over the start-finish line once again and looking to extend that lead margin. It's going to be, we checked it towards the start of the lap a few moments ago, and we said around 6 or 7 seconds. It's massively come out, and the reason why, Ross folds into the pit lane now. Cadoodle 2 from second place. Into the pit lane he will come. Ross will hand that car over to Clive Taylor. So Clive Taylor will get behind the wheel. Of course, Lee Taylor relation it started the sister car, so I'm sure they were having a quick chat prior to Clive jumping behind the wheel. So Marcus Clutton, he is up into second place and closing a 2 minute 38.984, only a tenth slower than the fastest lap of the race he set on the lap prior, even with a little bit of traffic. So Marcus Clutton up into second place, 14 seconds away from Leon Bidgeway. Johnny Milner still has the attentions of Josh Benson. There's only a second separating Johnny Milner and Josh Benson, and then there's only half a second separating Josh Benson from Colin French behind. So those three cars fighting away now in what's left of the top 10. Paul Pearce really isn't that far away either. He's starting to turn up the wick and go quicker. Still is Paul. I'm sure we'll be expecting a bit more from the 11/10 racing machine. Down in the pit lane, Carl Graves, team manager, working away to get Clive Taylor plugged into that EnduroKA. The Graves Motorsport team push that car back and send it back out onto circuit now, whereas the sister car number 44, Kagermeister, goes flying by. Whereabouts is car number 44 in the order? That is down in 21st place. So car number 44 with, who will it be behind the wheel? Paul Baxter behind the wheel at present, down in 21st place and continuing to tick over the laps. The number 94 machine returns to the circuit with Clive Taylor behind the wheel, down in what is 22nd place. Not pitting under the safety car has cost them, but of course Graves Motorsport are running 3 cars here this weekend, the Cadoodle 2 and the Kagermeister car, so they may not have simply had the capacity in the pit lane to pit all 3 cars under those safety car conditions. So Leon Bidgeway, he is only losing time now to Marcus Clutton. We look over our left shoulder and Leon Bidgeway appears. How soon will it be before we see Marcus Clutton? We should see the roof now. Yes, we do. He's coming through Coram and heading on to another lap. Johnny Milner is still under big pressure from Josh Benson. Josh Benson will see Colin French in his rearview mirror for Shine Automotive getting larger and larger. So we're only going to see that battle develop as this race goes on. Here comes Leon Bidgeway over the line, ticking another lap in the book. So as he breaks the beam, I'd imagine Marcus Clutton is going to be, 14 seconds on the lap prior. It could potentially be under 10 seconds this time. We'll wait and see. Over the line he goes. 10.8 seconds. That was close enough, wasn't I? So 10.8 seconds the lead margin. That's another 4 seconds closed down, and mainly because of that previous lap. Another fastest lap of the race off Marcus Clutton. We're almost into the 2 minute 37s, which we haven't seen all weekend. The fastest lap we've effectively seen all weekend has just been set by Marcus Clutton in race trim, 2 minute 38.271. Let's see what Marcus can do throughout the rest of this race. They can, I think, keep him in the car until the very end of the race. Adam, down in the pit lane.
Would you also like me to send up our special guest?
If we've got Ollie available, absolutely. Let's bring him up and we'll focus. We'll try and get the brilliant Digitex cameramen and women out there to focus on the number 12 Pro-Am racing machine with Josh Benson. If we can get that car in focus and in shot, they are fighting away with the number 46 Milner racing machine, that being Johnny Milner. We might be able to get Ollie to talk us through a lap, because it's all well and good. We can at least take an educated guess as to what it takes to get these cars around a lap. But if we can get Ollie in, it will be nice to hear from a driver's perspective as well, what it's like. So for those that are watching along at home, you will be able to hear Ollie for the next, 2 minutes and 45 seconds, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, dependent on lap time, as he comes up and talks us through a lap from the Pro-Am garage. We keep an eye on Leon Bidgeway, yet more lockups being made on the run in towards Murray's as the drivers continue to push the boundaries. We'll keep an eye on Marcus Clutton for closing down yet further that lead gap. Totec Motorsport just picking their way through the final corner as well, that being car number 64 and Matt Adams behind the wheel. We spoke to Joey DePrato, he was over the moon with getting out of the car in 6th place. So there is the Pro-Am Racing Machine, car number 12. They're just picking their way along the back straight. Hopefully Ollie is on his way up to us, so we can follow them from effectively lap start to lap end. They are just picking their way through Brundle and Nelson. Johnny Milner and Milner Racing have started to get bottled up by a little bit of traffic, or at least they were. They could shoot back into shot in front of the car they got caught behind. That's the Glory car number 126 machine. 131 machine, sorry, Catastrophe. They have managed to work their way through and past, and for the moment it is still going to be Josh Benson behind the wheel. Into the commentary box comes Ollie Ferdle, and we have a mic here for you. Granted, probably isn't the easiest way to talk us through a lap, but they are on their way to us in a few moments' time. So that is your on-off button, Ollie. Back towards us, we'll just put it on, and over the line comes Josh Benson. I mean, you can talk us through a lap, can't you?
I certainly can. So turn 1, as you approach it, is completely flat, but if you get too tight on the inside, you scrub off too much speed. So you've got to make sure you don't actually hit the apex. You can potentially hit the apex turn 1, but you've got to make sure you drift out nice and wide. Not too much steering lock. Turn 2, difficult braking point. There's like some markers on the left-hand side. Brake somewhere between the 2 and the 1 board. Down to 3rd and then 2nd.
What's it like on the throttle out of there? Do you have to wait, or can you pick it up surprisingly early?
Oh, so early. They've got no horsepower. So you just basically get on the throttle straight away. It's unbelievable. Turn 3 is completely flat. You have to put quite a bit of steering lock on, but turn 3 is completely flat.
Is it cambered away from you as well? You almost...
Yeah, a little bit. Not too much, but it is a little bit. Turn 4. That is again a heavy braking point. It's not really any braking markers. You've got the boards on the side, but annoyingly none of them are the actual braking points.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of pick one in between. Josh
goes
up the inside of the Milner car, so good stuff.
Yeah, that's
really,
a move for position as well.
Yeah, so I mean that's exactly what we wanted. So doing a better job than I was out there, but it looks like the Milner car's actually fighting it. They're desperate. They know we're strong and we're going to be up there. So. Yeah, they're gonna fight that, but Josh will definitely do his best to stick with him or possibly get back at him again. But
heading through Oggies, which is turn 6, is that a double apex right-hander before you get to Williams?
Not really. So you turn in and you want to get as close to the inside where you're basically 2 wheels on the curb.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure you don't drift wide. But it's not a double apex as such, but it's completely flat again, which is quite funny. In a car, so you do brake and then you just, as soon as you hit the brakes, you're straight on the throttle again, and then the corner after that, Williams again, completely flat, and then you've got the long straight, which if you've got the toe is just so beneficial. It's pretty crazy. And then as you go under the bridge, Brundle, you basically want to, it's like going on the bridge, it's how brave can you be? How brave can you be? And go starting 4th, go into 3rd, then flick it in, and then you've got to avoid the sausage curb on the inside, because that's a killer. You hit that, you are going flying, as we saw someone in practice do on the last corner earlier. I'm sorry, I'm just watching the screen. They're going 3 wide. So we go 3 wide into the last corner.
You did do
Excellent.
that.
Excellent. This is honestly one of the hardest things that I've got. I'm watching this whilst trying to talk through a lap. This is quite something.
What are you focusing on at that point? Because obviously you're relying on your spatial awareness to realise where the cars are around you, but also you want to race and you want to try and close those margins and make it difficult. So whilst that time through Josh Benson is at the tail of that trio, come the end of the next lap, he may be back at the front. So is that the ebbing and flowing that you've just sort of got to expect and try and lose as little time as possible? Or?
Yeah, it fluctuates a lot. There's a big learning thing for me. Today I really struggled in that opening stint. Starting in P1 and it felt like I just kept dropping and it just wouldn't work for me, and then about 15-20 minutes into the stint it felt like the car finally came back to me and I could go again. Then there was a safety car, and then I slowed down again, and then I got to pace, and then there was another safety car, but I think it's just through experience really, just not worrying about the fact that the cars were overtaking me. I keep cool and calm, which I normally am, but it was a real, psychologically it was really tough because I couldn't understand why everyone was just flying past me. But I don't know, I'll analyse it. It might just be, I feel like it might have just been me overdoing the tyres or something, but yeah.
from the end of the year at Brands Hatch, and some interesting plans for next year, I've heard. So for the rest of the year, I mean, Brands Hatch, quite a challenging circuit with the undulation change, especially on the exit of turn 1. Looking forward to that one, just going to go full steam ahead?
Yeah, looking forward to Brands. It's going to be weird because I was saying to the guys earlier, it was like 3 laps at Brands equals 1 lap here. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, you know, you might lose a 10.42 here in the corner. It doesn't really matter too much, but you do that at Brands. Over 10 laps, you suddenly lost 2 seconds.
It's scary.
Just through losing a 10.42 in one corner, which is crazy. But yeah, Brands should be good fun. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, should be good.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you out. So, I mean, that's a unique perspective on a lap of Snetterton. We wouldn't have had that. So thank you, Wally, for coming up here. As you can see in the YouTube chat, it's constant. It's absolutely constant. It's brilliant to see. MSVT racing, the YouTube channel alone, has massively grown with your presence as well. But Josh Benson, I think you might need to go back down to the garage, mate. Probably not the best time to have you up here. Do you want to wander down to the garage and have a discussion with the team? Thank you for joining us, Ollie. We will let you run down to the garage, I'm afraid, because Pro-Am Racing having a small issue there. I don't remember seeing them take fuel in the pit stop. So the last thing we would want is that to be the car running out of fuel. So they're covered by localised yellows. We can see the car from where we are. It's just on the exit of the bomb hole and the entry in towards Coram. Marcus Clutton is absolutely flying, a 2-minute 37.617. That's the fastest lap we've seen all weekend from any of these Enduro cars. So Marcus Clutton on an absolute mission through the field, it would seem. He's taken the lead away from the Wingat Racing Machine and Leon Bidgeway, purely because that car has had to dive into the pit lane. And the lead margin over Milner Racing is up to 25.5 seconds, pending whatever outcome we may get here with the Pro-Am racing car becoming stationary. So, I mean, we couldn't have really picked a worse time to get Ollie Fernal up here, could we?
No, that was really, really unfortunate. I really enjoyed trying to get getting Ollie in here, but he was a great character. But yeah, not the best time. I think in terms of the problem, I can't see it being fuel. I really, really can't, because of course there would have been a warning. I think there would have been a warning in the car. There would, of course, the team would have been aware that there was something going on.
So you say that, but they did that at Silverstone. One of the cars took, I think, 10 litres, the other took 15 litres, and they were trying to figure out exactly why. And because they underfueled the car, they got out of the pit lane before the red light flashed on. So what that meant was they got out and eventually won the race because they underfueled the car, by accident, of course. And one of those is, I've heard it again, cars running out of fuel. The light flashes at you, but because you're so engrossed in a battle, which we saw between himself, Johnny Milner, and of course the 180 Shine Automotive machine of Colin French, clearly, yeah, it can be easily missed. Hopefully it's nothing terminal, and it may just be, hopefully it's something like a HT lead that's just come loose and they can pop it back on and away they go. But that was the battle for second place. They were fighting over a podium there.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I saw that, and a safety car, so big potential in more pits being happening. I actually can't see it. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a bit of a drier pit lane for now. I think everyone's just going to focus on, just focus on what they are for the moment. And that looks like Nathan Kent is into the pit lane, so he's potentially got another issue. The safety car managed to pull out right in front there, or I believe the 95 of Marcus Clutton. So it seems like with Marcus, he's as quick as getting changed as he is in the car.
Yeah, I mean, 25.5 seconds is substantial, bearing in mind he's only just took the race lead. Over the line now goes Johnny Milner. More importantly, there are no cars between Marcus Clutton and Johnny Milner, so that 28.8 second gap, which it eventually rounded out to, is going to evolve to absolutely nothing. So Marcus, he's a pro, he knows what he needs to do, he will just have to sort of recompose himself and get ready for the restart. Now that isn't a good sign. Josh Benson out of the car. Usually you're sort of recommended to stay in the car or wait for the marshals to wave you out. And clearly the marshals have just said, yeah, Josh, get out of the car, that's fine. It is safe to do so, but that either means something more terminal and the car will need a straight lift, or they might be able to just tow it back, potentially into the pit lane from where it is, because it's on the entry into Coram. So I'd imagine there will be an escape road around there somewhere, so they can get that car back to not only the garage but the paddock as well, to figure out exactly what is going on. But Pro-Am Racing, from the highs of yesterday, I'm afraid it's the lows of today.
It does seem like that. A tale of two halves for the team, and it's not an ideal place. Whatever it is, of course, Josh does not seem happy whatsoever. He's quite clearly frustrated. He's disappointed. Even though it wasn't his fault, of course, he'll be super disappointed. And there was no fault in it. There was.
Unless it was a missed gear and instead of going for third, maybe first or something like that. But watching it back, we had a quick flick through on the stream, the car sort of lurched forward a little bit, but that indicates maybe something snapped. That could have been, I don't think it could have been a drive shaft, but potentially if something has failed, even if it was a CV joint or something. But I'm hoping it's a quick and easy fix. We saw at Anglesey that car alone got through 3 hubs. That was the issue at Anglesey, because you're really relying and leaning onto that left-hand side. Wheel bearings were failing left, right and centre, and they did 3 wheel bearing changes throughout the race. That didn't look like wheel bearing. That looked like something that used to move quite quickly, that refused to move, and all of a sudden, that car ground to a halt. So it was still rolling, which indicates either he got it into neutral, or at least the gearbox, the clutch still works. So, I mean, that's just a couple of things ticked off of the multitude of things it could be. But Pro-Am Racing, they're a clever team. They know exactly what they need to do. And that's a good sign as well. It's not a flatbed that's collecting that car. It is a tow truck or a pickup truck. So it means that they can strap the front of the car to the back of the pickup truck and pull it, which means it's not locked in gear, it's not stuck in gear. It should have a bit of electricity still left in it, I'm sure. So it just means that they can get that car back in. We're not looking at something like a drive shaft, we're not looking at something like a gearbox. The engine hasn't seized or anything like that. It could just be something that they then can't get it into gear and it's stuck in neutral. Whatever it may be, there are an endless list of things that we could ponder about throughout the rest of this safety car period. But immediately, again, another massive thank you to the marshals for doing all the work they do. They've really shone bright this weekend, haven't they? They've been worked hard, but they've done their job absolutely brilliantly, and they are giving up their time, they're volunteering their time to allow us to go racing.
It is a massive pleasure for the marshals. They're really helping out here in the industry of motorsport, and I do really appreciate it massively. And I'm sure the rest of the paddock definitely should, because they've been really hard at work, and especially with the heat that's going on. Like, I'm walking down the pit lane and I'm just sweating away. So it's never easy to be marshalling away. And they do have an important job to make sure they get all the flags right, get all the decisions correct. And of course, they are going to be making mistakes, and sometimes they do receive a little bit of a flack as well. And even if it is just they have got something wrong, you shouldn't fault them for it. They're doing their best job that they possibly can, and of course they have given up their time as well to be able to make this race possible. Without these guys, imagine no marshals, we wouldn't go racing. We would have no safety it would be like removing barriers from a race circuit. You wouldn't be able to do it. You would just not be able to, and there'll be no racing allowed. And of course the whole meeting would have to be cancelled because of it, especially if we find out if we have a meeting and there's a shortage, then the whole meeting's going to get cancelled, which is never ideal whatsoever. And we just have to give them a big old thank you, no matter what kind of no matter what post they're at, no matter what circuit they're at, no matter what job they're doing. Everybody in orange should be definitely applauded and given some really some really great comments, and I'm sure we'll say a big old thank you before we sign off for today.
Yeah, they really do deserve a thank you, don't they? You can get involved as a marshal. Sign yourself up for a taste today. You get to see absolutely everything to do with motorsport. Marshals.co.uk is the place to go, and you can get yourself signed up and get involved. It would be an absolute pleasure to have you. We already have an incredibly friendly, welcoming and knowledgeable group of marshals, and if we can expand that ever further, it would be brilliant. If it's something you've not considered before, you're not just thrown out there on your own. Everything you need, every little aspect and learning requirements. When I say learning requirement, more the learning material that you may need. If it's a question, you've got a brilliantly experienced group of people with you, and a lot of bits can be found online as well to help you in your journey to becoming a marshal. So please do get yourself signed up. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Marcus Clutton is leading the way. It will then be Johnny Milner, Colin French, Darren Stapleton, Phil Trueman, Peter Child, followed then by Nick Nunn. It will then be Ben Mellors behind the wheel of the Mellors Elliott Motorsport machine, followed then by the 55 Cash Traps racing car and Ben Smith. And rounding out your top 10 prior to going racing again, it will be Paul Edwards behind the wheel of the Commotion car number 141 machine in 10th place. So we'll wait and see as to what Marcus Clutton can do. Prior to the safety car, 2 minute 37.617. That's 2 seconds quicker than anybody has gone effectively this weekend. Let's see what he could do. Immediately out of the Brundle and Nelson section of circuit is the safety car. Marcus Clutton continuing to lead the field round, and he's gone nice and early. The safety car lights are still on, which leads me to believe the safety car is staying out. So is the safety car going to stay out with the safety car lights still on? We have a look. Yes. So the lights are back on, and Marcus Clutton spots that straight away and remains in the queue. So all of a sudden, the possibility of being able to go green once again has unfortunately dissipated. If those drivers have got pit to car radio, they may have been told we're going green this lap, and all of a sudden, yeah, that has changed.
It has indeed. Just spotting the 333. That may be a handing place back there, because they're running pretty closely here.
No, I don't think he spotted that the safety car had stayed out, so we're just going to try and figure out what is going on. I'm looking on the cameras and can't see anybody out there that is stationary. I don't know whether they just weren't satisfied that the field was formed up in a suitable place, and that is exactly what's going on. Car number 121. That being Calamity, unfortunately, with some rather substantial overheating issues by the looks of that. They were down in, or they were in 11th place, Calamity, and unfortunately, Andrew Hinch behind the wheel. That car is overheated. That is on the back straight, along the Bentley Straight. We can't quite see it as it's obstructed by the tree behind our commentary box and Cyril's Bar and Restaurant, but it is sat there on the exit of Williams, just around about a third of a way down the Bentley Straight. So there is an escape road just slightly further up from where they are, so we should see that car pushed behind that barrier very shortly indeed. Porsche Carrera Motorsport are into the pit lane, so they will have another driver change by the look of that. As we look as to who it was, it's Ben Smithwell that's got behind the wheel. Do you know Ben?
Yeah, he's a bit of a cheeky so when the helmet is off, but yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy behind the wheel, and he's learning the ropes as a driver. But yeah, they're having some really tough times in the Porsche Carrera Motorsport team. They're really having to go through through all the thick and thin moments, and really having to put themselves in the not the best positions. They're still, as I say, learning the ropes, but I'm pretty sure when they go through that learning kind of year, and then they go into their second year, maybe in the third year, they'll find themselves potentially fighting for potentially top 15s and maybe even top 10s if they find the drivers. And,
yeah. I was going to say, feel free to go and grab a word. News from Pro-Am Racing, they just lost drive. They need to get the car back to diagnose the issue. But if Ben's down there, yeah, absolutely, go and grab a word. If he's half the man you say he is, I'd imagine he would be great on the bike and probably just lighting up the stream as the safety car period continues. So Marcus Clutton remains behind the safety car. He went very early indeed and was following the safety car quite intently, and Johnny Milner was more or less left napping. So as that car potentially will need to get recovered, we may see yet another lap behind the safety car. I don't think we will have anybody diving into the pit lane as of yet, but I can see a couple of teams just on the edges of the garage may be ready to receive a car should they come in. So Adam is working his way along the pit lane from the top of, or from the bottom of the commentary box, and will wander his way down. And unfortunately, yeah, that Calamity car, it's not necessarily the place we would like to see it, and that could have just been running behind the safety car, because they're not getting that air that their car has been getting all race. All of a sudden that heat soak works its way into the engine, and the cooling system just cannot keep up with the demand, and unfortunately a very steamy end to that car. Pro-Am Racing are hard at work underneath their car, trying to figure out exactly what is going on. They've lost drive. Looking underneath the car makes you think potentially it was a drive shaft of some sort. Tyres look unsurprisingly good, Nick, especially that front left, and granted it only had around about an hour and 15 minutes work put through it, but that tyre looks in very good condition at all. So Ollie was worried about potentially overworking the tyres. From our perspective, those tyres are in very good condition indeed. The safety car queue just picking its way through Brundle and Nelson now, and will reappear into our sight on the win-through forum. Safety car lights are still off as we are still working to recover the car, or the Calamity Motorsport car, number 121. The flatbed has arrived. They will look to extend the arm over the Armco barrier, lift the car over and onto the back, so we should get that car back into the pit lane very shortly. But another lap underneath safety car for this EnduroKA. 3 hours here at Snetterton on the 300 layout. The Homes Recovery Unit hard at work, as it has been throughout this weekend. Maybe more work than we like to see it get, but doing a fabulous job when called into action. So here comes the BMW safety car with the lights still ablaze on the roof of that car, so we should get maybe a couple of cars into the pit lane. We have one coming in. Is that EnduroKA Sport? Yes, it is. So EnduroKA Sport are into the pit lane. I can't see a driver. Yes, I can. Driver change going on. Adam, if you either have Ben Smithwell or potentially any news from EnduroKA Sport on who might be getting into the car, I'd imagine it will be Roger Hassan potentially jumping behind the wheel, but you'll have to confirm that whilst we're down there.
I am down there at the minute. I'm not entirely sure who's getting in. I'm probably not recognising a face or two.
No, I know Peter Child has got out, so potentially a word there as well.
Yeah, just adjusting my headset here, but yeah, it looks like they're going to be a driver change for sure. Just adjusting the hands device, that's going to be very important to make sure the driver safety is paramount. The fuel is being put into that EnduroKA Sport car, which has been left with the bashes from the 24 hours, it seemed like, and the duct tape from that potentially earlier on in the race, because could have been earlier on in the race. It may have potentially been from yesterday's, but yeah, that car has definitely received a battering or two, so it'll take their while to fill up at this moment in time. But it does seem like it's a pretty quiet pit lane. A lot of people are around this area. The one single car that is currently in the pit lane. So the fuel is now done. The hub, the fuel hub is back on. They're just going to make sure it's screwed tight, so no fuel is quickly dissipated. And now they get the driver in for the EnduroKA Sport team, and they'll hopefully get that car back underway. Where is that currently sitting right now?
The EnduroKA Sport car prior to coming in was effectively in 6th place, but now 22nd place.
So of course they're dropping a little bit, but they've still got a couple of cars behind them, but they'll hopefully fire that up. I have heard the ignition go, and they'll push that back and onto the racetrack now. Just having a look there in the Porsche team, they've had to make do with the spare one, despite being parked up in the paddock for the majority of its time. Just now in front of the garage number 10 that has the Pro-Am team, and of course you've been already seeing the rush down there. Still trying to work out what the problem is with trying to get the drive going, but I'm sure we'll see what happens in terms of that team. They're frantically at work, and all credit to them.
Yeah, working hard in the pit lane. We're seeing the teams work effortlessly to get their car into the best position possible. The Calamity car now being lifted by the Homes Recovery Unit, the arm stretched over the Armco barrier, getting that car recovered, and back to the paddock in a few moments' time. The safety car queue working its way along the Bentley Straight and then towards Brundle and Nelson. What this is doing is extending this stint, because they're not going to be burning as much fuel The drivers will also get an opportunity to open the windows and cool down a little bit. Adam, do you have anybody down in the pit lane? I thought I heard your mic queue up there for a second. Of course, Ben Smithwell will be slightly further up through the order. I can see Laura Tebbs working her way through the paddock as well, so I don't think she'll be playing a part in the rest of the Porsche Carrera race.
I haven't quite seen. I've moved a little bit further along, see if I can potentially maybe grab a word. I'll definitely have Marcus Clutton in mind.
You might have Andy Burton down there as well. He'll be towards the very bottom of the pit lane now. Tommy Valentine has got behind the wheel. I think Marcus Clutton may stay in that car till the end of the race as well.
Yeah, I know. I remember speaking to him this morning. He was saying that he was going to potentially be at the end of the race. He was going to be doing that final stim before we see something. We now got the Supercake car that's about to now be pulled back into the race. It's had a long repair. The 49 is now being called quickly to come out onto the circuit, and there it is out of the pit lane, fighting fine style. But a very quick change. A little bit of oil on the ground floor of the garage. A couple of chuckles also going around, but they're still pushing around in that Superman, that kind of Superman parody car. And I'm sure that'll make their way up towards the back of the pack, try and keep it within the limits of the yellow flag. The safety car now pulls all the way past the centre straight, a couple of ways from some people in the garages. Since they're going that so they might as well try.
Yeah, absolutely. Just try and not necessarily cheer up your driver, but keep that morale high, keep chatting away. Every single window on all of the cars is down, just trying to cool the driver. And you can turn the heater all the way up, keep it all the way up as well, just to get any of that heat out of the cabin as quickly as possible. We've got yet more cars over the line, and I think that's effectively everybody aside from the car that's just passed. Back into the pit lane is the Jägermeister car. So out of the car will be, who will that be? That'll be Peter Baxter that's just jumped out of that car. We expect Paul Baxter, pardon me. It'll be Catherine Shipp getting ready to get in, unless Paul Baxter is going to take the wheel of that car once again, having just jumped out. One full tough jug of fuel going in. The team member there with the fire extinguisher just covering should that be required, but the safety car field just picking its way through Palmer's now, and then it's the short burst towards Agostini. LDR Performance Tuning, having retaken to the circuit, are continuing to circulate and are just picking their way on towards the Wellington Straight as well. But we should hopefully be getting racing back underway come the end of this lap, because the Calamity car has been hoisted over the top of the Armco and onto the back of the Holmes flatbed.
We should do as well, and I thought I'd let you know, in fact Andy Burton is in the car, so we've just spotted Tommy Valentine on the radio at this moment in time, I'm pretty sure, to Andy, so it is in fact Andy Burton in the car and not Tommy Valentine. So they're currently in I'd say a decent position in the mid-pack, but they still need to try and fight their way through, and I'm sure that they are going to be looking to maybe pull up a few places as well.
Yeah, so we'll wait for the timing screen to update. As it says Burton Power Racing and Tommy Valentine. So if Tommy is in the pit lane, Andy Burton remains behind the wheel. Into the Jägermeister car. I can't tell if that is Catherine Shipp or Paul Baxter. We'll try and figure that out as this race continues on. We got a little view there of some slight cosmetic damage on the side of that Groves Motorsport backed machine. Safety car queue just working its way on towards the Bentley Straights. They will be able to see that the Calamity car has indeed been lifted over the Armco barrier. Out and back onto circuit goes Calamity, and they will be able to continue on and try and close in up the road. They have just about beaten the LDR Performance Tuning machine out of the pit lane, albeit that won't be for position. Graves Motorsport in 22nd place, LDR Performance Tuning after the a mechanical issue on that car down in 30th place, 14 laps down off the race lead, and that should work out to potentially 13 laps behind the Graves Motorsport car. Safety car lights are off, we're about to go back racing. What can Marcus Clutton do in the lead of this race? He will have saved plenty of fuel, as will the rest of the field behind that safety car. Johnny Milner sat there in second place. Behind Johnny Milner, we've got Colin French. Behind Colin French is Darren Stapleton. Top 4 will be absolutely together. Top 5 will be as well, because Phil Truman is trying to get in on the mix. But back under green flag conditions here at Snetterton for hopefully the final 1 hour and 23 minutes. But Marcus Clutton comes towards the line. He will see the green flag first, and on to the first flying lap. What can he do about bettering the fastest lap of the race, which he already has to himself? A 2 minute 37.617. Absolutely flying is Marcus Clutton, and using absolutely every inch of the circuit. Not only him, but Colin French as well, on the white line and nibbling at the grass on the run in towards turn 1. So the green flag is out, and we can let battle commence once again out there on circuit. We'll have a quick look down the order as to who is potentially going to be on the move post pit stop. Out onto circuit once again goes the Essex and Kent Motorsport machine. They are, whereabouts are they in the order? Can't see them on the section of timing screen I am looking at. We will try and confirm that for you in a few moments. Time car number 38, they are down in 25th place, only 2 laps down on the race lead, so that's just getting lucky with a bit of a safety car. Johnny Milner under so much pressure now. Colin French looking to the inside and the outside. Behind Colin French, Darren Stapleton is doing absolutely the same thing. Phil Truman has got the best seats in the house watching on, but can't leave himself vulnerable to the car of Nick Nunn just sat behind. Behind Nick Nunn, we've got Ben Mellors. So Ben Mellors trying to catch up onto the coattails of that leading pack, but immediately setting the tone, Marcus Clutton absolutely leaving those cars behind in the race lead. So with Cadoodle Do now leading the way, Johnny Milner just doesn't have any answer to them at the moment, but that could just be the situation and the cards that they've been dealt at this stage. We could still see that Milner car come back strong, as we know it usually does. After winning the 24 Hours of Anglesey, George Wright, come the end of the race, absolutely overjoyed. You could see how much it meant to him. Such a lovely guy is George. His son Jack, much the same, so too with Johnny. Very friendly team indeed. But Marcus Clutton in the lead of this race, trying to pull away. Colin French looking all the way around the outside of Johnny Milner, jumps on the brakes to get the car slowed down, up onto 3 wheels on the run through Brundle and Nelson is Johnny Milner. What a brilliant run it was, because having slightly compromised Colin French, that has now dropped Colin French back into the clutches of the cars behind, but in turn they're starting to fight away. So Darren Stapleton is now trying to defend from Phil Truman, but that's not going to be good enough, because Phil Truman's on the inside and he's trying to force the door open on that car on the run in towards Murray's, and I think that may have just about been position made. We don't know whether Phil Truman managed to make that work up the inside of Darren Stapleton. We wait for them to appear, and they're still absolutely side by side. They're 2 by 2 coming towards us. So Nick Nunn is side by side with Ben Mellors, who in turn has Ben Smith just sat behind as well. But now Phil Truman does indeed manage to pick his way through and past. Fastest lap of the race goes to Marcus Clutton, 2 minute 37.304. Absolutely flying is that number 95 Cadoodle Do car at the head of affairs. Phil Truman did indeed work his way through and past Darren Stapleton. Ben Mellors worked his way through and past Nick Nunn. And unfortunately, the 141 machine with Paul Edwards behind the wheel dropped back 2 places on the lap that we've just completed. So not the best safety car restart from Paul Edwards. But Adam, you're down in the pit lane.
I am down in the pit lane, just outside the Pro-Am team, but I'm also having a look at a certain Ben Smithwell, if he's just nomming on ice cream at the minute, because he's had a very, very sweaty break. He's just having a few conversations, and I'm waiting for him for a spot of the eye. I'm going a hello there. They're giving me a bit of a wave. And Ben Smithwell looking like an absolute tomato.
Legend. I mean a legend.
Absolute legend.
Calippo. It's, special athletics Calippo. Extra carbs, electrolytes. It explains half the performance today. It's our sponsor. Calippo. Other ice creams are available. Yeah, saved your job today.
We have had some previous experiences in the past, but how warm is it out there at this moment in time?
Well, you can see my face. Every part of my body looks this colour. My chest, my legs, my arms, my back. You're looking a bit nervous. I'll just make my way around all the parts.
Oh no.
You can finish the rest at home.
But yeah, just trying to compose myself, of course. As I said, a very funny character, can be cheeky at sometimes, but yeah, not had the greatest of times in the KA series either. You've had a lot of bad luck. What's going on this time around?
The gearbox wasn't working very well, or not at all. We lost third gear, second gear, fourth gear. The rest were probably on. We probably should have done the race in reverse. We could have managed it because we are, of course, legends. Mark could have done reverse and probably won it. That's what he says. I'm not quite sure. The guy's full of ego. He's ghastly. Yeah, we've got a new gearbox in. The engine doesn't feel particularly fast today. Obviously, we're accustomed to blaming the car, not the drivers. It's just not working out very well. Although we were up 5 places. We'd take 29 today, be very, very happy with that. What's that? Yeah, like I say, I put a gearbox in, I did it myself. These guys, they just sat around eating Calippos. Yeah, they held my brandy. But we got it done.
Brilliant stuff there. Of course, the Porsche Carrera team, I'd say the most cheekiest ones in the paddock. I'm trying to say that under my lips, but yeah, it is clear that they do like to have a little bit of fun. As I'm sure a lot of us do. We do like to have a lot of fun in the EnduroKA paddock. Of course, like we say, these guys jump out of the car and there's never a frown. There is never a frown unless they've had a DNF mid-race. Then they've always jumped out with a smile and said, "Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun race. We've had some good battles," and that's kind of the point of EnduroKA. We've had some really, really good battles, and oh my goodness me, the sun is absolutely beating down like a hot pan, and I feel like I'm in a toaster right now. So I'm going to try and find a little bit of shade in one of the garages. So back up to you, Jack.
Great stuff. Cheers, Adam. If you can find a driver whilst you're in the garages as well, that would be absolutely sterling, even if it's potentially a mechanic as well. If you could, I'd imagine they've actually got bigger problems. I was going to say the lead Pro-Am or the Pro-Am director and mechanic, it'd be great to grab a word from them as well. But in terms of how the race looks, Marcus Clutton over the line consistently lapping in the 2-minute 38, 2-minute 37s. Last time through was a 2-minute 38, so we'll see what he can do this time by. Having got into the clean air, he's just continuing to run away yet more. Johnny Milner, I think that is why it is continuing to extend, I think more than expected, mainly because Johnny Milner is fighting so hard to keep the Kahuna's car of Phil Treeman and the Shine Automotive car of Colin French behind. And Johnny's doing a sterling job of web. He is just doing what he can to hold on to the position in which he is in at present. Yet more track limits warnings being awarded. That's for car number 81 most recently, GM Performance. Whereabouts are they? They're quite high up through the order. That's Darren Stapleton just grabbing the attentions of the stewards, just for pushing potentially that little bit too hard and finding the track limits whilst he's out there. So we'll see as to whether that will come to a head come the race later on. But still, with 1 hour and 15 minutes remaining, there's plenty of time for pit stops to take place, plenty of time for mistakes to creep in. Last time through again, Marcus Clutton, 2-minute 37.562, absolutely flying. Adam, have you got somebody?
I do. I have George Wright with in the pit lane at this moment in time. He's absolutely loving life, although being an absolutely baked potato. How are you at this moment in time? Feeling good?
Yeah, pretty good. I haven't done much racing today. We went out in the track day trophy, and unfortunately the gears had a bit of a problem. I got stuck in second at the start, managed to clear that, and after 5 laps it decided to completely lose connection. So I've only done about 4 or 5 laps racing today, bit of qualifying, so I'm feeling fresh at this moment. But I'll tell you, once I get in that seat, that little oven we call a KA microwave, an hour and a quarter or somewhere similar, see if I'm still feeling as fresh then.
Do you feel like you still have that kind of pace off the back of yesterday, or do you still feel like you need to get up to speed?
Yeah, no, I think I should have the pace. We'll have a lot of fuel on board, so I probably won't emulate the times I was doing at the end of yesterday, but I pretty much should be on the pace, that I can do. It's just down to what everybody else is doing. Graves has got a very quick driver in, so when there's not a safety car, he's pulling a good gap. I don't know who's going in next, so that'll be the interesting thing. So it might be one on pit stops. We'll see how it goes.
There's still high hopes to win. Of course, Marcus Clutton, McLaren British GT driver, super fast in a GT3, of course, fast in a KA. But do you still feel like you have a chance to not just get a podium, but a potential win?
Well, like I say, he's not going to be in it till the end, so there'll be another driver, probably another GT driver, but there you go. I'll do my very best. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm sure I'll be on his tail to the end.
Thank you very much, George. We'll let you go and cool down before you then get into the absolute microwave, like you said. But yeah, George, you're right, an absolutely fantastic character, and always with a beaming smile. And yeah, you can always walk down to the Milner Racing team, the 46 in the KA paddock, and you'll see George Wright there in his race suit, all tied up, and he'll have a big old beaming smile on his face. And I'm sure he'll be happy to tell you about his little KA that he's loving at this moment in time. But we'll have to see how his team gets on. Their biggest competitors currently still in the garage.
Yeah, so their biggest competitors from this weekend are still in the garage, and Graves with Marcus Clutton continuing to extend the lead margin. Over the line he's gone to post another 2-minute 37.8. The lead gap comes out from 11 seconds up to 14.8 seconds now. A 10-lap penalty has been applied to Glorica, car number 126. Who will they have behind the wheel? That's Michael McCullum, and unfortunately for Glorica, they are having to serve that 10-lap penalty. It's not where they come into the pit lane and remain stationary for 10 laps, it's just it will go on to corrected times once 10 laps have been completed, and they will figure out exactly where he's going to fall into. I'd imagine that will drop them into something like 27th place, maybe even 28th place. The reasons for 10-lap penalties can be one of a number of things. A towback I think gets you 3, but usually it can be spilling fuel whilst in the pit stop. You will get a penalty for that. So the pit lane klaxon goes off, and that's because we've got a car in the pit lane. That's the Autotech Motorsport machine, car number 64. They have come in. It has, who does it have behind the wheel? That's Matt Adams behind the wheel. I don't know whether I can see Joey DePrato getting in that car. You might need to confirm that for us, Adam, whilst you are down there. But Autotech Motorsport and Matt Adams into the pit lane. That will drop them a little bit further down the order whilst they are serving that pit stop. But with 1 hour and 10 minutes to go, they might just about make it to the end with that stop.
It is going to be Joey DePrato heading in. He's just standing there waiting for that car to be revealed. I'm sure he's waiting there just thinking, get me in that car, before he's able to then set off. But yeah, that 64 is looking like he has a really strong result. We spoke to Joey before he went for, after his first stim, and they'll now get that 64 into the pit lane. And you can see there the filming happening in front of you there. I'm literally right behind that, so just getting a perfect view of that getting fired up. Giving a little test to the windscreen wipers as well. So they're now going to strap Joey in, and he's going to have a big old sin. I'm sure he has the pace. He has been told that he's got a big amount of pace in him, but he's just got to try and extract that for the final hour, and that will not be an easy feat, especially with so many fast drivers, and of course those, as you say, those quick drivers being reserved for the last stages of this race. So with just heading over to their local laptop, they have an hour and 10 minutes still remaining, so some big potential for a lot of these teams to be able to push to the end. Big clutter going down the start-finish straight here at Snetterton, and the battle still rages on.
Yeah, the wind is starting to pick up as well, so that may be something that the drivers have to deal with. Looking at the windsock and the flags, it's a tailwind down towards turn 1, so the aerodynamic assistance won't play too much of a part. It's more that headwind along the Bentley Straight where you'll really start to reap the rewards of being tucked in behind a car up the road. Last time through, Marcus Clutton over the line with a 2-minute 38.836, Johnny Milner with a 2-minute 40.974, so still 2 seconds separating the pair of them via lap time. 17 seconds the lead margin. The pit lane klaxon goes off once more, as into the pit lane we've got car number 141, that being Commotion. So whilst they have jumped into the pit lane from what was 17th place, it'll be interesting to see now Paul Edwards gets out, if Daniel Edwards is getting in, exactly in what position he will return to the circuit. Orca Sport back over the line, continuing to tick the laps in the book. They have picked up a place whilst Commotion are in the pit lane, and Guy Wilkinson will continue on behind the wheel of that Orca Sport car. I think the main reason with the gulf in time is Johnny Milner is fighting so hard, a valiant effort being made by him to keep not only Phil Trueman behind, but Darren Stapleton, who is involved. So too is Nick Nunn, so too is Colin French. Colin French fighting away with the car of, who will that be? That will be Ben Mellors he's fighting away with as well. It's super close in that pack, very congested. Indeed, it's great to see that they can race this closely at this stage in the race. If they continue to battle this hard, the 55 Cash Straps racing car of Ben Smith really isn't that far away at all. The Commotion car looking rather battle scarred after not only 3 hours yesterday, but also the best part of an hour and 50 minutes this today, Sunday here at Snetterton. And we will be able to bring this weekend to a close in around about an hour and 8 minutes time, where we should be able to grab a word with our eventual top 3. However, that may look come an hour and 8 minutes time. But unfortunately, Johnny Milner, the efforts that he has been putting in, Phil Trueman has managed to find the chink in the armour and exploit it. Up the inside went Phil Trueman, and position made. So Phil Trueman up into what is second place, and Kahuna's race team, of course, they run that car with Autotech Motorsport, albeit all out of shape on the run in towards Murray's. That will cost him a bit of momentum on the run onto the centre straight towards the start-finish line. Will Johnny Milner be able to capitalise on that? He's in the aerodynamic assistance, tucked right up behind the car of Phil Trueman. He'll be looking for an opening. Into the pit lane comes Shine Automotive, Colin French in as well. Who else is in? That's Mellors Elliott Motorsport. So Ben Mellors into the pit lane. We will have to grab a word with Colin French, because of course he was in every position but the lead. I think at that point he's been in pretty much every position from second down to sixth whilst fighting away in that battle. Ben Mellors will be jumping out of the Mellors Elliott Motorsport machine as well, so there should be some good opportunity to get an insight into what it's like to be involved in that lead battle throughout what's left of this race. Marcus Clutton last time through back into the 37 to 2:37.818. So on an absolute mission. We've still seen no update in regards to the Pro-Am racing machine, hoping they have diagnosed the issue at least, and they will be able to get back out. But Josh Benson and the rest of the Pro-Am team will be in the pit lane working hard to get that car back out, I am sure. They've had a very successful year so far, but as Ollie has quite correctly said, it's just racing. That is how it goes. If it can happen to you, it can happen to absolutely anybody else as well. So just as we mention it, Pro-Am Racing back out on to a circuit. So we'll confirm who it is behind the wheel in a few moments' time. I'd imagine either Josh has got behind the wheel or it will be Jack Camp that's got behind the wheel for the final efforts in this race. But it's great to see that Pro-Am car back out there and circulating. Leaving the pit lane now is the 180 Shine Automotive machine, and the Mellors Elliott Motorsport machine returning to the circuit now as well. So we've got yet more cars returning to the circuit. Out through and past me goes the Mellors Elliott Motorsport machine with, I can't tell whether that's a new rear tyre with the sticker peeled off or that's just a slightly stained tyre. So I'm hoping, Adam, you maybe have somebody down there in the pit lane.
I was more talking to Mark Holm, and he was of course car sharing with Nick Nunn, and he was saying that there was a potential that they may do a no fuel stop, so just a straight drive change, and then potentially getting into the car, and of course looking to push that car a little bit up there. Their side competitor, of course, is the one with Marcus Clutton inside. So if Marcus is going to stay in and do that last stint, there's a big possibility that they will be able to go for the win. Of course, that's Clutton's team. But if they do that driver change and Clutton jumps out, I'm sure AR will get an interview with him. But Nick Nunn and Mark Holm will definitely have a bit the bit between the two. They'll be very, very competitive and with a big potential as well. Of course, Mark Holm is also in the Fun Cup over in France, so he's going to be heading off to Paul Ricard in a couple of weeks' time. The pit lane is going to start to get very, very active now once again. But just finishing up on Mark Holm, he's feeling pretty confident, but it's all about what happens down at that team, kind of decides the outgo of the race.
Yeah, so still plenty of time for the outcome to be decided. 1 hour and 4 minutes, we've just ticked past. Semprini Racing and Jeremy Evans into the pit lane. No Nonsense Racing, Jeremy Irvine into the pit lane, 27 and 18. So Justin Irvine into the pit lane, pardon me, and Jeremy Evans in the pit lane as well. We still have to take into account Glorica and Michael McCullum with that 10-lap penalty looming large over their heads. We've seen Johnny Milner get back through and past Phil Trueman for second place, and Darren Stapleton has done exactly the same to Nick Nunn for what is going to be fourth place. So the 151 Cataclysm car is having to work hard once again. But there is the Semprini Racing machine in the pit lane, just getting some fuel on board, ready to return to the circuit. The Cahunas Racing car of Phil Trueman under big pressure once again from the car behind of Darren Stapleton, having just managed to get through and past Nick Nunn. And Darren Stapleton setting his attentions on Phil Trueman. Phil Trueman doesn't want to fall into the grasp of the GM Performance car behind and wants to stay well within touch of Johnny Milner in that Milner Racing machine. And it seems to be working at the moment, because they're not exactly running away with it as of yet, Johnny Milner and Milner Racing. Last time through, Marcus Clutton with the fastest lap of the race again, 2 minutes 37.228, absolutely flying is Marcus Clutton. That was 3 seconds quicker, 3 seconds quicker plus some change over the cars behind him. That time through, only a little bit slower, 2 minutes 37.265. Absolutely flying is Marcus Clutton. This may be a slightly slower lap from Johnny Milner, as he's fighting so hard to keep Phil Trueman behind him, and it's working so far. Indicator on Milner Racing machine, and into the pit lane comes Johnny Milner. You'll have to grab a word with Johnny, because he's been at the head of that battle for so long. He will get out of that car with a massive smile on his face. The Grapes Motorsport crew are out as well, so I'd imagine we may see one of their cars come in. And we've also had come into the pit lane GM Performance from fourth place, so second and fourth all diving into the pit lane, Adam.
We have indeed, and I was just having a quick chat with Pro-Am Racing. They've managed to get that number 12 out onto the racetrack, and it seemed to be a fuse, so a fuse kind of burning up, and I think disconnected from the ECU, so that's kind of where it's gone, and that's a reason why it's kind of happened. There goes George Wright out in the 64 Milner Racing car, but yeah, it looks like the number 12 is back out there, unfortunately a few laps down, so they're going to have a couple of issues with that. Down at garage number 6 and 5, let's see if I can get a word. There is Johnny Milner, just having a little bit of a conversation with his family. He's very much got a smile on his face, as well as sweat dripping down him. So he's now going to kind of get some water. I think that's the best option there, Johnny, before he then goes and sits back down. I think his name's being called over, but I'll leave him for the moment now and back up to you. But I'm sure the minute I get him over, he'll definitely, yeah, I'm sure when I get him back over, he'll be more than willing to chat. In fact, he's just come over, thrown the water. How's the sweat? How's the microwave, as George called it?
I don't think you'd put a dog through this, would you, in the back of a car without giving it some ventilation? It was interesting. I've had a massive scrap for all of the laps, really, apart from when the safety car was out. But yeah, a bit too close to call, but could not keep up with that lead car. He's just gone. They just said to me, "Where was he quicker?" I said, "Everywhere." But yeah, okay, we're doing all right. See how they do with the next driver.
Of course, that was Marcus Clutton, GT3 McLaren driver for the British GT. I'm sure he's a big name kind of in the EnduroKA series, but kind of your personal performance, do you think it went well for you?
I couldn't do any more than that. I mean, I was having to fight hard all the way, but had some demon moves from my rallycross days. But yeah, I kept it in second place, which is the main thing. But yeah, fair play to him. But we'll get him in a rally car, see how he goes then.
And then just finally, is there a good potential to win, because George thinks so?
We've got to think positive, yes, you never know. I mean, another safety car will nip them all up again. It depends how fast the last driver is.
Absolutely, so I'll let you go and hydrate up, go and get some water, and yeah, please do go and hydrate in this very, very hot weather. The 95 into the pit lane as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on how that does.
That's Marcus Clutton. There's a lot of cars come in. So Marcus Clutton from the race lead, Phil Treeman from second place, Nick Nunn from third place, Cash Straps Racing and Ben Smith from fourth. We've also got the AFK racing machine coming into the pit lane as well. That will be Natalie Knowles getting behind the wheel. Of course, Natalie racing a very quick Honda Civic Type R yesterday, jumping into the Honda Civic Type R again today, jumping into the Ford Ka to round out her weekend. The pit lane has become a very busy place. Martin Weymouth and Wingat Racing have all of a sudden taken the race lead, still to do their second pit stop, however.
Absolutely, and Lee Taylor has just got out in front of me, as well as yes, that 95 has got out in front of me. A round of applause as well from the cars that have, from the team that have managed to make the stop. There goes Marcus Clutton. He's about to go into the back of the garage and potentially hydrate himself. I'm sure if he comes back, I'll try and get a word. I'll try and say that with a bit more oomph, just so the team are aware that. There could be a potential word, but yeah, he's going into the back of the back of the truck. We'll get some water, get some ice down his racer before then taking it off. But a big job there from Marcus Clutton, putting in some absolutely stonking laps, and I mean stonking. Really putting in a top performance from of course the least you expect from the GT3 driver in a McLaren. He pretty much drove that K8 like it was a McLaren for the lead of a race. Very, very experienced around every single circuit. Knows I'm sure this circuit inside out from the many races he's driven around here at Snetterton in that McLaren 720 GT3. But yeah, more cars leaving the pit lane. The 22 go through, but looking pretty active in the pit lane, and I'm sure there's not long left to go of this race. And there's some very, very close battles all throughout the circuit, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing all of these really being exuberated once we get into that final kind of 30 minutes. I think that's where we're going to be seeing all the battles and zero hoots being given by any of the drivers. They're going to get their shoulders and elbows right out.
Yeah, I think I spotted Phil Hart in the pit lane, ready to go as well. They've got a tough jug there ready to serve one of the Semprini cars. It will either be the 27 or the 37, and we'll have a look down the order to see who we have out. So we've got, as we look down the order, James Hart is out there at the moment. It could potentially be Phil Hart ready to take over that, or Mark of the 37 machine. What of the 27 car? I can't quite spot them. There they are. That car has Phil Hart behind the wheel, actually, so no, it won't be that. So it could be Jeremy Evans that's ready to jump behind the wheel of the 27 racing machine. So we'll see as to what happens there. We will keep an eye on what Natalie Knowles can do. The pit lane klaxon goes off. Into the pit lane comes the Semprini racing machine, car number 37. We look over at who that could be. Potentially David Evans ready to jump behind the wheel.
It could potentially be, but I'm also here with Nick Nunn, who's jumped out of the car. Nick, how's the pace been for you?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I set my fastest times during that session. So yeah, no, really good. I think I brought it in P2. Did a fairly quick pit stop. That's what we do. We've done lots of endurance racing over the years. It's dependent on pit stops. Everybody's similar speed. Everybody's got the same car. So it really comes down to quick pit stops, and I think we were quite slick then. So yeah, not long to go.
As you currently have a look at the timing sheets, there's not long left to go of this race. Do you think there's a good potential for a good result in here?
Listen, Marcus Clutton's in the leading car. Marcus is a friend of ours, very, very quick driver, so very slim. But I don't know, silverware, hopefully, yeah, we shouldn't be far away. If Mark has a good session here, we won't be far away. I trust in Mark to bring it home in the top three.
I'll let you in on as well a little something. Marcus Clutton is currently jumped out of the car for Lee Taylor, so they've had a driver change in that one. So again, potential for a podium or a potential win here. I think it's got to be a podium here, surely.
Yeah, let's hope so. Listen, I don't know what the other drivers like, but listen, they're all quick drivers out there. It's just like I said, it's slick, fast pit stops. A good pit crew can make all the differences in endurance racing. And I've seen so many times before, the last 10 minutes it can change out of all recognition. So we'll see what happens. But we're going well. We had a good couple of days.
Thanks so much, Nick, and I'll just leave their garage. Nick Nunn was currently sitting on the chair, just in the pit lane there, but he's currently rehydrating himself as well, which I'm sure a lot of us need to do after the end of this 3 hours. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of water being sprayed on the podium, as well as I think it's going to be champagne. I'm sure it is going to be champagne, but I think a bit of water spraying as well is going to be needed. But yeah, starting to really heat up once again here, and I'll see if I can go down, up and down the pit lane, and see if I can maybe get a word with Marcus Clutton once he kind of gets himself reclothed.
Yeah, absolutely do so, because we've had a big change up at the top. Previously, Shine Automotive were on an absolute mission through the order, and unfortunately Colin French has jumped out, Nathan Brown has jumped in, and that car has some sort of mechanical issue, I'm afraid, as that car has come to rest on the exit of the Wilson hairpin and isn't moving anywhere, parked up and stationary, covered by yellow flags. I'm hoping that car is at least suitably out the way to prevent yet further safety car interruptions. That's exactly what Graves Motorsport will be hoping for. Now that Lee Taylor has taken over the 95 machine, they will want to maintain that margin that Marcus Clutton worked up behind the wheel of that car. Wingat Racing and Martin Weymouth continue to lead the way ahead of the car with that 10-lap penalty. Car number 126, Glorica and Michael McCullum. 10-lap penalty, I can only assume, is for spilling fuel during the pit stop. Milner Racing and George Wright have worked their way up into what is third place now and are starting to close in on those cars up the road. But Lee Taylor just a little bit of a way behind at the moment. He's got a bit of work to do to close in on those cars. Orca Sport at the moment, car number 74. They currently have the driver of Guy Wilkinson behind the wheel, and Ian Perkins has jumped into the Kahuna's race team machine. Ollie Mellors now behind the wheel of the Mellors Elliott's Motorsport machine, if I put my teeth back in, and Cadoodle 2. And car number 94, they have Clive Taylor behind the wheel as well. Adam Bonham behind the wheel of the 131 Catastrophe car, and Castrap Racing have got Alex Tentori back behind the wheel as well. We are awaiting the return to the circuit from the North Motorsport machine, car number 148. That should have Sam North behind the wheel, or I think it's had Sam North behind the wheel, so it would be either Hugh Smith. I'm guessing Hugh Smith, because we've already seen Rob Restwell behind the wheel, so we'll wait and see as to when that is confirmed. NJM Racing car number 2 in the pit lane. Peter Simmons brought that car in, and yellow flags have been withdrawn up at the Wilson hairpin, so that leads me to think the car is in such a place it is safe to continue racing. The marshals doing absolutely the correct thing, just showing some localised yellows, making sure everybody has passed them a couple of times, so at least they are aware that that section of circuit will be covered by localised yellows, and there is a car slightly off the circuit at that point. But leading the way post pit stops, I've got a feeling this could be George Wright. Milner Racing, they are doing a sterling job. They are the leading car that has done 2 laps. But Adam, you've got news from the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just talking to Andy Burton. Yeah, he hasn't had the most interesting race, but he has been he's gone for a stint, and he's absolutely loved it. He's really enjoying that KA, and he said even though he's not really fighting anyone for the majority of the time, he's still absolutely loving whipping that KA around the corners. Of course, so many fast corners for a car that just about reaches what is 110 miles an hour. But yeah, he's also sharing a garage with the Shine Automotive team, who, from what I've heard, never had a podium. They've never had a podium, and they're running in P3.
Not anymore. They're not. That car has had some sort of issue. Nathan Brown is stopped out there on circuit.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to, because of course they've had that issue, and unfortunately for them, now find themselves and right down the order. Of course, had to stop as well, get towed back to the pits, and it just takes an agonizingly long amount of time before you're then able to get into your garage, and then you have to find the issue, which takes even longer depending on how quickly the issue can be solved, because sometimes it's one of those really ones that you don't really quite know. You have to really dig to try and find it, or it could be one that's just right on top of the bonnet. So yeah, definitely one for hurtful kind of one for Shine Automotive, but I'm sure they'll be looking back to see if they can potentially go forward in the future rounds. But yeah, it was another one that could have been for Shine Automotive. So the 180, I'm sure we'll be back for future rounds, but for now it's just another unfortunately one that they've taken a lot of pain from.
Yeah, it's not the way they would have liked their day to go, especially within that final hour. Through the final corner and onto another lap of the race goes Martin Weymouth in that Wingat Racing machine, leading the race at present and lapping quicker than anybody else out there on circuit, so continuing to extend that lead margin over the 126 machine, that being Glorica and Michael McCullum. Over the line they will go in a few moments' time, and we will get an updated gap there. And with Lee Taylor taking over the Cadoodle-Doo car, unfortunately that just hasn't quite gone his way since getting behind the wheel. Andy Burton's Burton Power racing machine goes over the line. They now have Stephen Gilbert behind the wheel till the end of the race, and the lap times are starting to fall off, and I think that is potentially just with that heat, and the visibility will continue to degrade, not necessarily light-wise, but as the sun continues to get lower and lower in the sky, it does become rather tricky to pick out cars around you. And braking points, LDR Performance Tuning back into the pit lane, and Essex and Kent Motorsports into the pit lane as well. Car number 126 also in, that is the Glorica machine, and Michael McCullum. Of course, they have that 10-lap penalty to try and deal with by the time we get to the end of the race, Adam.
Yeah, I'm also in the pit lane with Marcus Clutton. Of course, came out from his stint and was absolutely flying. Marcus, that was incredible. How do you do that?
I'm not really sure, really. Just enjoying myself too much, I think. Guys have turned out a really good car for us. We've been working on it all year, and yeah, just enjoying myself. Weather's nice, and enjoying driving the car. It's good laugh, and bringing on Lee, Ross, and Clive on this journey as well. It's good. I'm just enjoying it, and I think obviously when you're enjoying it, you drive a bit better.
Of course, I'm sure I was told this circuit is right around the corner from yours.
Oh yeah, it's really local to me because I live in North Wales, so I've got a 4.5-hour trip home tonight, but never mind.
I think I may have got the wrong Marcus then, so my apology in that one. But yeah, of course, like you say, you really enjoy the car. But just tell us how you've been kind of developing over the course of the year.
I think just concentrating on our pit stop times. That was one key area where it was pretty rubbish. Bringing the lads on. Obviously, they've not done many races. They're still on novice crosses, so just getting them up to speed and trying to do some testing and stuff. And yeah, it's showing today that myself and Lee in the 95 car we can perform. So yeah, hopefully we can start getting some results soon.
Of course, you popped into the 137, which we haven't seen the entire weekend, and just kind of talk to us about just pushing that car into those 37s, and how much does it take to really find that limit?
Yeah, it takes a lot. I don't. You know, it's probably not too good for the car, but you know, if the lap time's out there, it needs to be extracted. And you know, I'm considerably later on the brakes than most people, and I'm fighting it, and I've probably just lost about a stone in sweat there, but you know, it's worth it. The lap time's there to show for it, so it's good.
And of course, just quickly seeing how your British GT3 campaign is going. How's that going so far, and how's the season?
British GT is not going too good, really. It's been a tough season. We've had pace, but not been able to get results. And then Brit Car's going well in the Audi. Won at Donington yesterday, so that was good. And then Fun Cup next weekend. So yeah, really busy. And yeah, it's do it whilst I can. I'm going to be too old and slow one day, so make the most of it now.
Will we be able to see you at Donington and Brands Hatch?
I think so, that's the plan, yeah. We're going to finish the season, so it does fit in my calendar, so yeah, hopefully the boys will have me back.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Marcus. It's always a joy to talk to you. Go and keep cool as well, but yeah, big old thank you to Marcus. There's not many times you get to talk to a McLaren GT3 driver in the British GT Championship, but that was a real pleasure. The second time I managed to talk to him, bringing him up to the commentary box for the 12 hours last time around, but yeah, massively experienced and talented Marcus Clutton is, and make sure you follow the British GT Championship at Donington and at Brands Hatch, the final 2 rounds, where you'll see, I'm pretty sure you will see Marcus Clutton, as he did say, he is looking to finish the championship and with Morgan Tilbrook, so really hoping that he gets some good results in that one. Back up to you, Jack.
Brilliant. I think he also was referring to Brands Hatch come the end of the year with the EnduroKA series as well, if Graves will have him back. The Marcus you may have been referring to that's local could have been Marcus Batty from Calamity. I'm not exactly sure if it would be his local circuit, but that's immediately the Marcus I would allude to. That or it being Marcus Buckle for NJM Racing. There's been a stop-go penalty applied to car number 18, No Nonsense Racing. Whereabouts are they in the order as we look down through the order? We pick them out there. They're currently in 16th place. And unfortunately for Bradley Godbold, that is not what he would have wanted. Into the pit lane comes car number 94, that is Cadoodle 2, and that will be Clive Taylor jumping out of the car, and we'll see who is about to get in. So the Graves team straight to work, making sure that they can get that pit stop completed as soon as possible. Back over the line now comes Martin Weymouth in the lead of the race with a 42-second lead, Adam.
Yeah, I was just going to allude to, there's too many marks here, for goodness sake. You sometimes get that paddock where there's just too many of the same first names, and it can overlap just a little bit.
Yeah, so the stop-go penalty is for a full minute with Bradley Godbold, so they're going to have to come in. They're serving it now as they're sat down there waiting for the time to tick away. The marshal down there just counting them down and making sure that they remain stationary for the requisite number of time, the requisite amount of time I should say. Back over the line goes Stephen Gilbert in the Burton Power Racing Machine. 2 positions gained on the last lap, mainly because Bradley Godbold is serving that 1 minute time penalty, but also Clive Taylor being in the pit lane in the Graves Motorsport crew. Hard at work. Over the line goes George Wright, 41.2 seconds behind Martin Weymouth now. They are effectively in the lead of this race, with Martin Weymouth still yet to pit. There's 42 minutes remaining. I don't think they'll get to the end on the current strategy in which they are running. So the top 3 post-pit stop should look something like this. It should be George Wright and Milner Racing, car number 46, currently sat there in 2nd place. Once Martin Weymouth has been in, they should inherit the lead. Then it will be Cataclysm, car number 151. That will be Mark Home behind the wheel. They are lapping very quickly indeed, apart from being closed down by the car behind, that being Lee Taylor. Keep an eye on Lee Taylor in that Cadoodle-Doo car. Obviously Marcus Clutton mid-race putting in some fabulous stints and some fabulous lap times to close down those cars up the road. They in turn are pulling away from the 11/10 Racing Machine. That's got Paul Stout behind the wheel. Paul Stout, believe it or not, the first time commentating on Paul Stout, he was racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB sim racing series. That was at Brands Hatch. It was a very exciting race for Paul Stout. I think it made it to my show reel even. But Paul struggling to find a bit of lap time on that lap prior. May have been slightly compromised by traffic, of course. 41 minutes of this race remaining. Martin Weymouth still out there and circulating, of course, still with that pit stop awaiting him. But for the moment, everything seems to have settled down, and now we've had a few more drivers jump into the pit lane. The order has shuffled very slightly, but nothing to the point of really affecting the leading train, aside from black and white warning flags being waved for what are going to be 3 cars. Car number 38, that being Essex and Kent Motorsport, being warned. That'll be Luke Kent behind the wheel for track limits. So they will have to be, Lewis Kent, pardon me, Lewis Kent will have to be careful of those track limits over the next 40 minutes. Also car number 18, that is the No Nonsense Racing Machine with Bradley Godbold, who's just been into the pit lane to serve a 1 minute stop-go penalty, being warned about track limits. And then car number 55, that being Cash Strapped Racing, they are currently running in what is 9th place, and that's Alex Tentori behind the wheel, so they will have to be careful and watch that for the final 39 and a bit minutes of this race. As we look back out of the window, back over the line goes Stephen Gilbert in the Burton Power Racing Machine, currently sat there in 16th place, 22 seconds away from a positional gain. Behind them on the road is George Wright. Just behind George Wright, however, is the car that is gaining on them, North Motorsport and Hugh Smith. and Hugh Smith last time through with a 2 minute 41.394. They were gaining, but then immediately responding was the 141 Commotion machine. They have improved, but Stephen Gilbert with a 2:43.855. So with Hugh Smith trapped up and behind George Wright, they are gaining all of the aerodynamic assistance they need and closing in by around about 2.5 seconds a lap. So we could see that change between 16th and 17th respectively. Over the line, we see the number 44 Graves Motorsport Jägermeister machine. They are continuing to circulate at a steady rate. They currently have Catherine Shipp behind the wheel, last time through a 2 minute 49.095, albeit that could have potentially been a slightly hampered lap. But for the moment, everything seems to have settled down, Adam. The pit lane is rather quiet as well, but I've got a feeling we may still end up with a few more pit callers in the latter stages of this race. I hear Paul Stout is in the pit lane. That should be up towards the Burton Power Garage for 11 Tenths Motorsport. I say that, they have just left the pit lane now, so the rear wiper are hard at work as they leave the pit lane, and we'll wait and see as to exactly who it is that has either taken over from Paul Stout or whether it be Paul Stout continuing on. I'm guessing it will be Byron Crawford that's just got behind the wheel, and Byron went very, very well yesterday. If you could grab a word with Paul Stout, that would be absolutely brilliant, because even though you it may not have had the best stint, or you could have had a fabulous stint, knowing that Byron is getting in after you, that means that yeah, you're still in with a fabulous chance of a good result. We know Byron's quick, we know Paul's quick, and we also know that the other Paul Pearce is quick, who started that car. By way of Pro-Am Racing, who following their issue that they've had, which isn't the gearbox, it is something just slightly more complex. They currently have Jack Kemp behind the wheel. Whereabouts are they now? They're down in what is 27th place, albeit with a penalty applied to that car. So we do have a penalty applied to one of the cars. That's Ben Stone, EnduroKA, car number 126. They've got that 10-lap penalty we mentioned earlier on. Pro-Am Racing and Jack Kemp have got a 3-lap penalty, but that's just for the tow back, as they got towed back to the pit lane, and a 3-lap penalty being applied to Andrew Greer-Hardy because of their tow back as well with LDR performance tuning. So it's not necessarily those most recently mentioned who have done anything apparently wrong. It is more just that tow back, you do get penalised for it. And George Wright's back over the line, just pulling away that little bit from North Motorsport and Hugh Smith. Stephen Gilbert continuing to lose a little bit of time in that Burton Power machine. But now into the pit lane, we've got Martin Weymouth from the lead of the race, Wingate Racing car number 3. And George Wright has been promoted up into the lead of this race. Cataclysm, car number 151, that currently has Mark Home behind the wheel. They're only 6.7 seconds away, so all of a sudden, that lead margin, Adam, after the best part of 2.5 hours, is only around about 7 seconds. A further 7 seconds back, we've got Lee Taylor, so the top two covered by just about 14 seconds at the moment. So that could still get closer. But Martin Weymouth into the pit lane for Wingate Racing. They're leaving the pit lane now. If you could grab a word with Martin Weymouth as well, because that may have been a slightly daunting prospect, knowing that you are effectively leading the race, and all of a sudden you have got those cars that you will be fighting with arriving behind you very, very quickly indeed. That will have given him lots to think about. A car has run slightly wide on the exit of turn 1. We can see the dust has been kicked up into the air. Did we have another car into the pit lane? Yes, we do. Catherine Shipp behind the wheel of the car number 44. That Jägermeister liveried Graves Motorsport backed car. Carl Graves just watching on. There is Catherine Shipp jumping out of the car. I don't know whether she's going to jump back in. Hands device and helmet still on. Over the line goes the 126 machine, EnduroKA, that being Michael McCullum. Obviously they've served that 1 minute stop-go penalty. It will not be Catherine Shipp getting behind the wheel. Strapped in now is going to be who is joining her in that car. That's Paul Baxter. So Paul Baxter leads that car back out onto the circuit for the final 35 minutes of this race. Car number 12 being warned of track limits. That's Jack Kemp in the Pro-Am Racing machine, clearly pushing hard to make up for that lost time. And in doing so, just finding the track limits, exploring very slightly beyond the white line. 35 minutes remaining. That's not bad at all, bearing in mind how close this battle is. Mark Morais has taken over that Wingat Racing machine and has still come out in 4th place, so even without pitting under the initial safety car, Wingat Racing have absolutely nailed this strategy and are just short of a podium. We'll keep an eye on George Wright, we'll keep an eye on Mark Hamer, we'll keep an eye on Lee Taylor. Milnair Racing from Cataclysm from Cadoodle-Doo, your top 3, 46, 151 and 95, separated by around about 14 seconds, just picking their way on to the Bentley Straight, and through Brundle and Nelson are our race leaders. There they go, actually onto the Senna Straight, pardon me. So George Wright's back over the line with a 2:39.805, a fabulously quick lap which extends their lead margin over Mark Home up to 7 seconds, so another 0.3 gained. However, Lee Taylor with a 2:38.834, so all of a sudden it looks like Lee Taylor is closing in on the top 2. 13.8 seconds turns into 12.9 seconds, so Cadoodle-Doo, following Marcus Clutton's brilliant efforts in that mid part of the race, is being followed up by Lee Taylor's strong first part performance. He's still got a little bit of a way to go to get to the end of this race, but if he can maintain the speed he currently has, we may see Lee Taylor get back on to the coattails of not only Cataclysm but also Milnair Racing, and Graves Motorsport back to Cadoodle-Doo could still be in with a shout of the top step of the podium. That 2:38, the only driver to break into the 2:38 on that lap, and recently as well, so we are starting to see Lee Taylor close in. Mark Morais goes through on his outlap to post a 2:35, but yet to be improved upon. Leaving the pit lane is Jack Kemp in that Pro-Am racing machine, so that car has been back into the pit lane to serve the drive-through penalty for track limits. So straight in, straight out, and no positions gained or lost with that one, as they are on their own lap. In respect to the cars around them, Porsche Carrera Motorsport have had a fairly unbothered day today compared to their day yesterday. Currently behind the wheel is Mark Carey. He will bring that car to the checkered flag, I am sure. 22nd place at the moment, but again effectively on a lap of their own. And we're just going to keep an eye on those top 3. George Wright, Mark Hamer and Lee Taylor still there, first, second and third, all on the 49th lap. I can't remember how many laps we got out of it yesterday. It might have been 58 we squeezed out yesterday, potentially more. I will check the results from yesterday to confirm that for you. If we have a look at the race run results, race winner yesterday, Josh Benson, 67 laps completed in 3 hours, 1 minute and 20 seconds. So we'll see if we are on par for anywhere near that. I very much doubt we would reach that today due to the safety car interference in which we have had. But George Wright, he will be working his way through the final couple of corners in a couple of moments' time, and we should see an updated lap time which gives us again another little insight into what the lead is doing. Here comes George Wright, he's working his way towards the timing beam, so over the start finish line he will go. 2:39.8 turns into a 2:40.949, so a slightly slower lap from him. Over the line goes Mark Home. Do we get an improvement there? It's a 2:40.450, so the lead margin comes back down from 7 seconds to 6.5 seconds, and Lee Taylor with a 2:39.4, so 1.5 seconds gained on the race leader, a full second gained on second place. That lead margin is coming down. The top 3 separated by 11.5 seconds. Bearing in mind we've been racing for 2.5 hours, that is absolutely nothing after those top 3 have all had 2 pit stops and 2 driver changes with sporadic fueling throughout. Lee Taylor is well and truly closing down those 2 cars up the road, and they may all meet at around about the same point, still with half an hour remaining. So it is starting to get closer. Further down the order it is very much levelling out as well. We're not getting too much by way of positional changes. Adam, if you could find somebody in the pit lane, it would be good. Whilst out on circuit it seems to have calmed down, at least for now, and we might be able to get a brief insight into exactly what is going on down there in the pit lane, and maybe another unique perspective from one of the drivers. I guess it's your call on to who we get, because the pit lane will be a flood with drivers. It's just who we can get a hold of. What about the treble 3 machine? Ian Perkins behind the wheel, Phil Treeman I think we may have spoken to either yesterday or today. So if you do find somebody, please feel free just to jump in. At the moment though, Mark Morais in that Wingat racing machine, losing time to Ian Perkins. Last time through, Mark Morais with a 2:41.392 compared to Ian Perkins' 2:40.626. So 7 tenths gained by Ian Perkins. That's the battle for the final 2 spots inside the top 5 and in which order they will finish in. But 11.4 seconds between Lee Taylor and George Wright and Milnair Racing in the lead of this race. If they continue to lap quicker, they should catch them in around about 5 laps time if they continue the current rate of attrition. So we may just about see the lead change before the end of this race. Of course, we won't get 67 laps with the 4 5-minute laps in which we were doing under the safety car conditions. We should have the arrival of Milnair Racing in a few moments time. They're just picking their way through the final corner now. Wingat Racing working their way on towards the Bentley Straight. You can see that number 3 machine desperately trying to run away from the Essex and Kent car just sat behind. And then, after a bit of a break, we get to the treble 3 Kahuna's race team, the sort of lime green machine. Ian Perkins behind the wheel. He is still giving chase and closing down that battle. Over the line goes George Wright with a 2-minute 40.651. Over the line now will go Mark Home, and has lost a fair bit of time, lost a full second effectively. So the lead margin comes out by a full second to 7.5 seconds, but Lee Taylor last time through a 2-minute 38.741. So the top 2 have separated, the top 3 have come together. 9.5 seconds now, only 2 seconds between Lee Taylor and Mark Home. And at this current rate of arrival, Lee Taylor will well and truly be there before the end of the race, and that will make Marcus Clutton's drive home absolutely worth it if he can leave with one of the fabulous EnduroKA trophies which we have here. Of course, we do also have the Dagenham Dustbin, so that's an award provided to a team which have the best looking and the best prepared car, as chosen by the marshals as well. I'd be surprised if it went any other way apart from car number 6, NJM Racing, after that car has been on its roof. Not that specific car, but one of their cars has been on its roof. They went and picked up another, and Paint Pens to the rescue, and they've made a makeshift livery on that car. So I'm sure the marshals will have appreciated that one. But George Wright, he is being closed down by the current holder of the fastest lap, that being Cadoodle-Doo, car number 95. Mark Moraes over the line with a 2-minute 42, loses another 0.7 of a second back to Ian Perkins, so they are closing in inside that top 5. The battle for 4th is getting closer and separated by 4.2 seconds. The battle for 2nd split by 2 seconds, with a very quick Lee Taylor catching on not just Mark Home in 2nd, but George Wright in the lead of the race. Andy Burton's Burton Power Racing machine, car number 1, with Stephen Gilbert behind the wheel, is trying to run away from the North Motorsport car number 148. They currently have Hugh Smith behind the wheel. They're separated by only 1.1 seconds, so all of a sudden Hugh Smith is in the driving seat here. There's a bit of bodywork that has been strewn from a car on the exit of Brundle Nelson. Returning to the circuit now is car number 37, the Semprini Racing machine, so that car's back out there, and we'll get a confirmed driver for you in a few moments' time. So they've been to the pit lane most recently and have spent quite a number of minutes in their garage. But No Nonsense Racing are starting to close in on the cars, are starting to lose time to the cars up the road, but gain time over the cars behind, so they are in an opening gap. North Motorsport and Hugh Smith really is starting to catch now, so Burton Power are going to have to be keeping an eye on that rear view mirror, because they will see Hugh Smith getting larger and larger. The speck in the rear view mirror will become clearer and clearer over the next couple of laps. Over the line goes George Wright with a 2-minute 40.343. Mark Home with a 2-minute 40.961, so he loses yet more time. And Lee Taylor over the line with a 2-minute 39.647. So the top 3 separated by 8.8 seconds, and 2nd and 3rd separated by only 0.7 of a second. The battle between car number 151 Cataclysm and the effectively art car livery, car number 95 Cadoodle-Doo. Lee Taylor, he is getting closer. They are absolutely nose to tail coming out of the Wilson hairpin, and now we may see the change, because Lee Taylor looks to the inside on the run towards Palmer, and this could be the change for 2nd place. Absolutely it is. So Lee Taylor up the inside, taking over from Marcus Clutton, continuing that trend, and is on a mission now. There are, I don't think, any cars between him and the race leader of George Wright further up the road. Milnair Racing will want to get the win here after finishing 2nd yesterday. They don't want to finish 2nd today, and having received their only win at Anglesey, they'll want to add another one to that tally. Adam, you're in the pit lane.
I'm down in the pit lane. I'm currently sitting in the garage with the Kahuna racing team, the Autotech, so I've managed to actually get a timing screen right in front of me, and they're looking pretty good with Joey DePrato putting in a really, really good time, 40.6 alive around. Let me try and get some better coverage. But yeah, he's looking really, really strong. Is Joey DePrato, and that 65 team running really, really well. And the Kahunas 333 also running pretty well. So potential for both of them to put themselves in really good positions. If I manage to poke my nose in just a minute to have a look where they are, of course, 5th place for Kahunas, and then it's an 11th place for Joey DePrato's Autotech Motorsport. So both of them potentially in a top 10 finish as well for this number 19 and 20 garage. So definitely some high hopes in that one, especially with the time that they've got. But it is indeed running out, so they do need to be on the money here. And if they still had the pace and able to catch and pass the cars, there could be some really good stuff down here right at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Back out onto circuit go, car number 6, NJM Racing, and returning to the circuit from what is now 25th place. Now you make a good point with Joey DePrato. He is lapping quicker than those two cars up the road, so Joey is in with a shout of working his way into the top 10. Car number 38 has received a drive-through penalty for track limits. So once again we will see the Essex and Kent machine come into the pit lane. Nathan Kent will have to enter pit lane and go straight back out again due to the track limit infractions in which he is sort of built up over the most previous laps. Lee Taylor, whilst overtaking Mark Holm, has still closed the gap to the leader, so now the top 3 separated by 8.7 seconds, but more importantly, Cadoodle-Doo and Lee Taylor only 8.3 seconds away from Milnair Racing and George Wright in the lead of this race, so we may still see a change for the lead. 23 minutes of the race remaining, and it is starting to close down for the lead. We'll wait and see as to what Lee Taylor can do over the coming laps. Essex and Kent Motorsports more or less just enjoying themselves out there and making the most of their EnduroKA that they are running here at Snetterton this weekend. The Shine Automotive car has been brought back to the garages because I can't see, oh no, I can still see it. The Shine Automotive car is still sat out there at the Wilson hairpin, so it was Nathan Brown that unfortunately was behind the wheel when the issue arose, so he's effectively sat over there and spectating, probably with better seats than we have up here in the commentary box. So looking further down the order, it seems like Mark Holm just has lost that little bit of pace behind Lee Taylor and can't quite keep tabs on those two cars up the road. Ian Perkins, as you mentioned, Adam, and Kahuna's race team, they are lapping very consistently with Mark Morais, so if Ian Perkins can hold on to P5, we may just about get Joey DePrato at the current rate of closure inside the top 10, so a 5th and a 10th is absolutely a good result come the end of this weekend. Finishing one of these endurance races is a good result, so do not take it away from those drivers that may not finish in what they believe is the best position, but getting to the end is no mean feat. So we still will see a position made for Jack Kemp and Pro-Am Racing because Nathan Brown and Shine Automotive are sat out there stationary on circuit. They are now on the same lap, so we should see Jack Kemp jump up the order come the end of this lap once he goes through and breaks the beam. But George Wright in the lead of the race, he will see Lee Taylor getting closer and closer. Car number 74 on your screens, that is EnduroKA Sport. Whereabouts are they in the order? They have just moved up to 13th place on the lap prior. So that will it be Gary Mitchell behind the wheel? EnduroKA Sport, we look at today's entry list, and that's where we see the change. So car number 74, it will be, I had Ian Mitchell, Gary Mitchell and Darren Stapleton, but on the timing screen we've got M. Davey, so we will look into that as to who that will be. Last time through, personal fastest lap of the race from Mark Holm, 2 minute 39.306. Lee Taylor with a 2 minute 39.422. George Wright with a 2 minute 40.077. So yet more time gained by the cars behind. 6 to 7 tenths between Lee Taylor and Mark Holm has been gained on George Wright. So 7.7 seconds the lead margin. 20 minutes remaining. It's going to be tight again, isn't it? It's going to be very close come the end of this race. Whether Milnair Racing and George Wright will hold on to it, guaranteed George will defend. Such a brilliant driver is George. He brought that car to the end of the Anglesey 24-hour. Car number 12, Pro-Am Racing, and Jack Kemp has been afforded a stop-go penalty for exceeding track limits on a number of occasions, so he will have to come into the pit lane and stop just underneath our commentary box before he can get rolling again and retake to the circuit. Mark Morais over the line with a 2-minute 41.212. 3/10 closer now is the Catastrophe machine, or is the Kahuna's race team. That is Ian Perkins. He's closed that gap. 2.4 seconds now separates those two. In turn, catching them both is the 131 machine, Catastrophe. That car is. Robert Thomas is continuing to close in on those cars. There's only 8 tenths now separating him from Ian Perkins. So 4th, 5th and 6th still up in the air. 1st, 2nd and 3rd still up in the air. And Adam, you've got news from the pit lane.
I was just going to say, I've been having a look at the timing screens, and my goodness me, after 3 hours, we still have a really, really good race on. Of course, the battle for the lead is still charging off, of course, 7 seconds between them. And of course, both Kahunas look like they're going to be taking P4. It's just Ian Perkins needs to make sure that he's on the money. He needs to keep himself on the racing surface, but also lapping faster than the cars in P4. Joe DePrato still chasing down that P10. So hopefully he can potentially get in the top 10, of course, showing some really, really strong pace throughout the race, but some really, really interesting battles all the way through, and Lee Taylor is absolutely on a charge from what I can tell. But I'm going to start coming back up because this is really going to start getting very, very tasty by the time we get to the end of this race. And yeah, I really think that we're going to see some side-by-side action right at that last moment.
Yeah, I think we will do indeed. George Wright has just gone through. There goes through Lee Taylor. George Wright immediately responds now with a 2-minute 39.347. He started pushing on and trying to extend that margin. It hasn't quite worked, only 2 tenths gained, however. What he's doing is damage limitation and doing so very well indeed. Lee Taylor now 7.5 seconds away with 17.5 minutes of this race still to go. At that rate, George Wright would be safe, but of course traffic is still yet to play a part. Mark Home keeping tabs on Lee Taylor. They're only 7 tenths apart for 2nd and 3rd place. Mark Morais, is he in front of Ian Perkins by the time they come into our view? Yes, they are, but Mark Morais has lost yet more time to Ian Perkins, so 1st, 2nd and 3rd are closing. 4th, 5th and 6th are absolutely together. Mark Morais still losing time to Ian Perkins, who is still losing time to Robert Thomas. As they come into our view and over the start-finish line in just a couple of seconds' time. Let's have a look at the lap times. There goes Mark Morais on a 2-minute 40.883, which I think is exactly the same lap time he set on the lap prior. Ian Perkins on a 2-minute 39.866, and then Robert Thomas on a 2-minute 39.478. So those 3 cars are only separated by around about 1.7, 1.8 seconds. That is the fight for those final spots inside the top 6, and in what order they will appear. Mellors Elliott Motorsports, car number 5, have returned into the pit lane, so that is Ollie Mellors that has brought that car in, so that's dropping them down the order very slightly. Jack Kemp, I think, has served his stop-go penalty. Yes, he has, and he's returning to the circuit now. We do also have the Mellors Elliott car into the pit lane, potentially to serve that to serve a stop-go penalty as well. But at the moment, George Wright, that last lap, has just bought him that extra bit of time, which he may need come the end of this race. Lee Taylor is still closing him down. Mark Home keeping tabs on the Cadoodle-Doo car, so the top 3 only separated by 8.2 seconds. 2nd and 3rd separated by only 7 tenths of a second. But I'm going to be keeping my eye on Mark Morais, Ian Perkins and Robert Thomas for 4th, 5th and 6th place, 1.7 seconds apart.
Absolutely, and I've also been looking at Joe DePrato putting 2.9 seconds on 11 tenths racing Byron Crawford, so really big potential in that one. That was the one I was talking about a couple of moments ago. Yeah, but Michael Morris and Ian Perkins and Robert Thomas battle raging on, and as I said, Ian just needs to keep his head down. He needs to make gains here, even putting a second between him and Wingate Racing as well, so down to 1.3, and of course that's going to just ever close in here. Lee Taylor with George Wright in the Milner Racing car. That's going to get pretty close here. Of course, that is starting to now potentially become a big old potential, as I said, with half a second being bitten out for that gap. George Wright still pushing the absolute living daylights out of that number 46 Milner Racing car with Lee Taylor currently just in behind, as I said, just under 7 seconds now, but it'll be quite the task for Lee Taylor to potentially take that. I think we can say that a podium is on the card for the number for Holm, and the 64 has been given a black flag. What's this for?
That was track limits. It was a black and white flag.
Oh, was it a black and white flag? Ah, that's explained. So I got a little bit worried. I saw that on the gantry for the 64. But there goes Robert Thomas in the number 131, going above Ian Perkins. So the 333, unfortunately, handing over a place in that one. But they might be able to go after Marais with a second between them, and looking like 14 minutes to go here.
Yeah, so Mark Marais coming under yet more pressure from Robert Thomas. Ian Perkins still not that far away, so as long as Ian Perkins can again keep in touch with Robert Thomas, we may see the race come back to him. Mark Marais will see the two cars behind gaining, as they have been over the final couple of laps. Last time through, George Wright tried to respond again with another 2 minute 39.498, so continuing to turn up the wick and try and at least lap Snetterton in the 300 layout, just that little bit quicker than he has been doing throughout the early stages of this stint, but still half a second lost to Lee Taylor. The lead gap now down to 6.9 seconds, 13.5 minutes of the race remaining. Mark Holm has fallen away slightly from Lee Taylor, which explains Lee Taylor's pace picking up. He doesn't need to worry about defending too much at this stage in the race, so they're not that far apart at all. Of course, Lee Taylor and the Cadoodle-Doo car currently have that fastest lap of the race, which Marcus Clutton set on lap 38 of this race. Currently on lap 56, 2 minute 37.228 remains very much untouched at this stage in the race. So still in the pit lane is the 126 machine. That's being Ben Stone. We'll wait for them to re-emerge to the circuit, and I'm not sure whether that was a planned stop. However, we'll wait for them to leave to see if that counted up to 5. The car that's been into the pit lane the most times is the Essex and Kent Motorsport car. 8 visits to the pit lane they have had throughout this race, and unfortunately we won't see anything further from the Shine Automotive car and Nathan Brown, because it is still parked over there and just about to see the roof from our perspective up at Wilson's. But George Wright and Lee Taylor continuing to get closer together. Mark Holm in an opening gap because he's losing time to Lee Taylor but gaining time over Mark Marais, and Mark Marais will continue to fight away with Robert Thomas, I'm sure, and Robert Thomas in turn will try and run away from Ian Perkins, having just disposed of him and worked his way inside that top 5.
Absolutely. I've just had a look and highlighted a lot of the drivers. It looks like the only driver that's not going to be involved in a battle is going to be Holm for the Cataclysm team, despite him being 3.6 seconds behind Lee Taylor. I don't suspect there's going to be anything there, because he's done at 2:41.4 last time around, and Lee Taylor putting a 38.9. So there's a big old difference in that kind of region. But yeah, that's still going to be tightening up ever so slightly, because George Wright is still putting in those 2:39s. Just looking at our tracker, because I've done a couple of highlighting. Yeah, Wingak, Catastrophe and Kahunas are right with each other heading into the hairpin. I'm sure that they're going to be on potentially on the camera watch as well. GM Performance of Ian Mitchell, I believe, has actually got past Cash Strapped Racing's Alec Tintori. So yeah, up to 7th goes GM Performance. Drive-through penalty for the 148. Yeah, that's going to be all the way down. That's North Motorsport. So they're currently gone to 15th for them. They are currently, yeah, as I say, 15th. But that drive-through penalty is not going to do them any good. That should come up upon our gantry. And also the Joey DePrato, number 64, has been taking absolute chunks out of Byron Crawford. Looking at the last time around, Byron Crawford did a personal best, 2:40.4. Joey DePrato, 2:39.1. So even though Byron Crawford put in a personal best, something's happening with that 11/10 racing, because now Joey DePrato is 1.3 seconds faster than Byron Crawford. Now just needs to find a way through with these 1.5 seconds over that timing line. They're currently making their way in towards Hamilton and in towards Oggies, I believe. There, where is 11/10 racing? There is the Porsche. There is the 11/10. There is the number 64 Autotech. So really starting to get close. And look, there's also the Porsche Carrera team in the middle of that. But currently on your screens you're seeing there the 95 of Lee Taylor trying to gain onto the back of George Wright, and last time around it looked to be that it was I'm just trying to do my commentary maths, 0.8 faster for Lee Taylor, so trying to close that gap down. If I can find a mouse here, closing that gap down to now 5.8. So I think this is now going to go into the way of Milner Racing.
You want to say that as well, don't you? The current rate of closure definitely dictates that, but of course there is still the chance of traffic to play a part. There's still chances of mistakes at this stage in the race. Stranger things have happened at sea. We have seen post-race penalties applied. We've seen mistakes. We've seen issues. But George Wright will be looking to pick up a win here at Snetterton, of course, off the back of the 24-hour win in which the same driver lineup completed at Anglesey only a month ago, which does seem like it was only a couple of weeks ago. It's absolutely flown by. But George Wright still leading the way for Milner Racing, car number 46. They should be working their way through the final sector now and coming back towards us in a few moments' time. Joey DePrato, has he managed to get in front of Byron Crawford? Yes, he has. Over the line goes Joey DePrato and inserts himself even further inside that top 10. Joey DePrato with a 2-minute 40.835 compared to Byron Crawford's 2:42.482 last time through. So 11 tenths Racing clinging on to what's left of the top 10. 4.3 seconds back from them is AFK Racing's Nick Creed, who has been lapping quicker than Byron Crawford. So the logical target for 11 tenths Racing is to maintain their position inside the top 10. Over the line goes Jack Kemp behind the wheel of the Pro-Am racing machine. And has that car lost any pace? 2:42.9. I think they are nursing that car home, because obviously the finish results in signatures on your licence, and if you've done over an hour's worth of racing, you pick up a couple, which means you can be eligible for that next licence upgrade. We should have race leaders coming towards us in a few moments' time. We will await the arrival of George Wright, who should appear into view now. Yes, he does. And I think Lee Taylor's been caught behind a little bit of traffic, so this could be a quick lap from George Wright and a slightly slower one from Lee Taylor. Over the line goes George Wright and puts the team's fastest lap of the race on the board, 2-minute 38.866. Lee Taylor's caught behind some traffic, so that won't help him with a 2-minute 39.350. So for the first time in about an hour, that lead margin has yet further extended. Lee Taylor now 6.3 seconds away with 7.5 minutes to go. Maybe too little too late, but George Wright, what a lap last time through. The fuel load is getting light, the tyres are hanging on well, the track temperature is cooling and getting into a nice optimal range for him, and George Wright very comfortable with a lot of experience behind the wheel of that EnduroKA. 2-minute 38.866, exactly what the team were asking for.
Super impressive there from George Wright, really extending that advantage out to 6.3 seconds, and that's exactly what they want. Lee Taylor, of course, is lacking that little bit of pace that, of course, Marcus Clutton set, and I'm only just seeing that lap time now at the 37.2, and you just, I think you said earlier that Marcus Clutton's lap time to make you want to rub your eyes and go, did that really just happen? And it's once again another one of those moments that you think, did he really just put in a 37.2? Yes, he did. Yes, he exactly did that. Joey DePrato has put himself up into P9 ahead of Byron Crawford, so managed to gain I think that's about 2 places at the expense of 2 different cars in the space of about 25 minutes. So really good run there for Joey DePrato, but I think he's still still going to have to go with what he's got for the moment now. Again, Mike Moraes and Robert Thomas and Ian Perkins still embroiled in a big old battle, but I think Ian Perkins is, unfortunately, I'm not sure if that's going to be down to tyres or that's going to be down to if that's down to tyres or if that's down to whatever it is. It might be even fitness in a way. It might be a little bit of fatigue as well, that he's not able to put himself up into that battle or for P4. So it's going to be down to Mike Moraes and Robert Thomas. And if I kind of put my kind of highlight some of these drivers and get them more specific, they're coming now in towards Hamilton and in towards Oggy, and I think that is going to be the it looks like the 3 still ahead of the number 151.
Yeah, it is still the that is still the case. Mark Moraes, however, he had going off lap times and the current rate of closure, I think he's not necessarily fighting a losing battle, but he will be fighting a battle for the final 5 minutes of this 3 hours of Snetterton. 5 has received a warning for track limits. That is the Mellors Elliott motorsport machine. So Ollie Mellors clearly just pushing the limits out there on circuit and pushing the buttons, I'm sure, of the clerk of the course and the stewards down in race control, just trying to keep tabs on who is running over pressure plates and potentially who isn't. But Mark Morais and Robert Thomas, as they crossed the line, they were absolutely nose to tail, 0.130 of a second last time they came through. They're just working their way in towards Brundle and Nelson, and Mark Morais remains in front for now. The bit of bodywork that was strewn earlier on in the race is still there, and a little look up the inside now from Robert Thomas. So what he's done is show his cards nice and early. He's going to be on the inside on the run all the way through Coram, but no, just can't quite keep the nose up the inside. So Mark Morais is immediately on the defence, nose to tail on the run through Coram, on the brakes in towards Maurice. All of that battling is allowing Ian Perkins to get back in on the mix in the Kahuna's treble 3 machine. Out of Maurice they will come absolutely together, and then towards us at the start-finish line. Will it be Mark Morais? Will it be Robert Thomas that appears first? They both appear at the same time, absolutely side by side. Robert Thomas opts for the outside, but he might just get that position made before we even arrive at turn 1 at Oggies. So drawn absolutely level over the line. The gap at the line is 5 thousandths of a second, so absolutely nothing between them. Are they going to remain side by side on the run in towards turn 1? And somehow Mark Morais, I think, just about holds on to that one. Yes, he does. He will see that there's 3.5 minutes of this race remaining, and he will desperately be trying to keep that car inside that top 5, because all of this battling, like I say, is bringing Ian Perkins back in on the mix. But the door opens up and it swings open for Robert Thomas. Through goes Robert Thomas. Mark Morais fights back on the exit. They remain as they were, maybe a bit of contact potentially, but Mark Morais somehow gets the power down early enough and just about holds that line on the outside and maintains 4th place for now. They should appear back into our sight on the exit of Palmer's in just a few moments' time. And Mark Morais, Robert Thomas and Ian Perkins absolutely nose to tail.
They really are going into the left-hander here of Agostini. I think it looks like later on the brakes, Ian Perkins, he's looking to try and potentially get a move on, try and show his car as they exit the left-hander and on toward the short blast on towards Hamilton. That's going to be a very quick left tipper before they head in toward the slow right-hander of Oggies. They'll appear from behind the tree that is covering our commentary box and in towards the right corner of Oggies. I think it's going to be a fight down the Bentley straight, and with 2.5 minutes to go, this is absolutely sensational stuff. Remember, this is after 3 hours of racing, and there's still nose to tail, and it's not just a duo, it's a trio of cars still going at it. They head their way down the Bentley straight. We now cast our attention to some of the security cameras we have as our TV cameras looking elsewhere. They're still going at it. We see more cars heading through. That is going to be Lee Taylor. You see there on your pictures, still trying to find his way past George Wright. But there is the battle, and it looks like there has been a change, in fact, and it looks like, I think that's going to be Robert Thomas who passed Mike Morais.
Yeah, so in a straight line, it seemed like Robert Thomas got the better run coming out of Williams, dragged up behind Mark Morais in a straight line, and all of a sudden, evidently corking the bottle there, big run over the curb for Mark Morais, cost him a bit more time. So Robert Thomas up into 4th place, Mark Morais down into 5th place, but up 22 places from where they started today, so they cannot complain at all. They've had a sterling run at this point. Lee Taylor, he's up 13 places from where that car started. Unfortunately, the rate of closure has very much slowed down with 1 minute and 18 seconds remaining on the clock. George Wright is going to squeeze another lap out of this one, potentially, or are we on the final lap? I think we could be on the final lap here, and George Wright will take over a minute to get back here. So the checkered flag, I'm sure, will be readied towards the line, and that's absolutely perfect timing for Robert Thomas. He's got up the inside of Mark Morais. He's worked his way up into 4th place and has tried to extend the margin. Mark Morais, in turn, is trying to hold on to the final spot inside the top 5. And Ian Perkins is trying to make that hard work. But for the moment, car number 46, George Wright, Jack Wright and Johnny Milner have done absolutely everything they need to do with 40 seconds remaining on the clock. They should be going down the Bentley straight for the final time to get win number 2 of the season.
Yeah, they've been doing an absolutely marvellous job heading in towards that section. They've really been the top guys and they've shown the reason why. They've got a really strong car, they've got a really strong lineup, really experienced drivers, and of course every single element in their team just looks so strong. They've got really no faults in that, and there is Mark Roberts trying to escape the wrath there of the Wingat Racing team, but it does look like Ian Perkins has potentially lost potential in that fight there. But there is there is George Wright heading in towards Murray's corner, and it's going to be a third winner of the season in the EnduroKA series. It is George Wright to power it to the line, and it's Milner Racing for the second time in a row take victory here at Snetterton. The 3 hours have been completed. Param won the first race, but then it's going to be their rivals on track in the form of Milner Racing at 46. Looks absolutely powerful in all departments.
Yeah, that will be a very happy George Wright that you'll speak to down there in the Parc Ferme area. Lee Taylor comes over the line to secure second place for Cadoodle-Doo and Graves Motorsport. Cataclysm over the line and Mark Home to round out your podium. It will be Robert Thomas that should appear in fourth place. Of course, still trying to fight his way away from Mark Moraes, and Ian Perkins trying to do the same. Over the line now comes the Burton Power Machine. That will finish. Whereabouts will they finish? Stephen Gilbert crossed the line in the number 1 machine to secure what is 15th place. Ollie Mellors crossed the line to finish in 14th. Hugh Smith over the line to finish in 16th. We've got a few cars just trickling over the line now that have been fighting their own battles, albeit a couple of laps down. Today's race slightly more attritional than we saw yesterday, 5 laps less compared to what we saw yesterday with the safety car interruptions throughout the day. Here comes the battle we were watching. Over the line now comes Robert Thomas. He secures 4th, Mark Moraes in 5th, and Ian Perkins, what could have been, in 6th. So close to that top 6. We'll await the arrival of Ian Mitchell, Alex Tentori and Joey DePrato. Over the line goes GM Performances, Ian Mitchell, car number 81 to secure 7th place. 55 Cash Strapped Racing, Alex Tentori over the line to finish in 8th, and then it should be Joey DePrato, car number 64 for Autotech Motorsport, coming towards the line. Over the line he will go to take the checkered flag and secure 9th, and Nick Creed in AFK Racing over the line now to secure the final spot inside the top 10. 11 Tenths Racing, again a weekend of what ifs. They had brilliant pace throughout this weekend. Byron Crawford setting his personal fastest lap and the car's fastest lap on that last lap of the race, finishing in 11th. Orca Sport over the line in the hands of Michael Davies. He will finish in 12th place. He should just be arriving now. There we go, over the line. They will go. Essex and Kent Motorsport over the line with Nathan Kent crossing the line at the same time. Car number 141, that being Commotion. I think it's Daniel Edwards that will bring that car to the line. And Pro-Am Racing over the line now after a mid-race recovery and getting that car back out there. Jack Kemp over the line to finish in what is 26th place, again following a win yesterday. Unfortunately today just didn't quite go their way. Commotion and Daniel Edwards over the line to finish in 13th place. We're just waiting for Ross Folds in the Cadoodle-Doo car number 94. That's coming towards the line now. Over the line they will go, take the checkered flag, and they will be the final of your 28 finishes. But for George Wright, Jack Wright and Johnny Milner, that's another win to add to their tally, and Milner Racing. Cadoodle-Doo, Lee Taylor and Marcus Clutton finish in second place, albeit walk away with the fastest lap of the race. And then car number 151, Cataclysm, they cross the line to finish in third. Nick Nunn and Mark Home. We spoke to Nick halfway through the race, and he said he trusts Mark to bring it home and to secure the final step on the podium. And that's absolutely what they did. But Milner Racing, what a performance from those guys there, just working their way along the Bentley straight through Brundle and Nelson and then back towards us. Actually, here they come into the pit lane now. So Adam, if you are down there and in the Parc Ferme area, Milner Racing should be coming towards you now.
Yeah, down in pit lane, just getting my microphone adjusted, and there is George Wright just pulling up right in front of me, and there are the cameras on him. A little bit away from the windscreen wipers there. We'll now get an entire field of cars pulling up, and I just see the 151 in fact lost part of its left bumper, but George Wright is absolutely loving it there. A big yes from George, and we'll see if we meet again. We'll meet again, he says. George, you're absolutely beaming. Tell me. You had the pace.
Go on, son.
Absolutely beaming. Tell us how much that means to you. Of course, you finished second last time around, but the victory means even more.
Well, second place yesterday was basically a qualifier, the way the races were set up. So it was all about today, really. And we weren't often in the lead. There's some fantastic teams out there. You know, the Graves car was blistering. Pro-Am were the usual fantastic self until they had a breakdown. I think the Kahunas were chasing me down all the time. Absolutely great drivers, great cars, great race. What can I say?
And of course, let's talk about your own car. Of course, this is an absolutely mighty machine you've got here, and it just seems like there's no fault in this team. Like,
me and my son Jack are compressed air engineers, hence the compressor shape there. And Johnny's business is Merlin International, the Wizard. So we've got a combination of both, and we're Mill and Air Racing. Stands to reason.
And yeah, that's a brilliant logo, and of course I'd love to get like a really good shot from that. Hopefully that's going to appear beautifully on the TV screens. But yeah, of course you got the two Brands Hatch rounds coming up next for you, George. A lot of sweat there from George. He said it's not going to be very pretty. He said, but a lot of hugs as well. All mentioned, as we said, is well deserved as well. But I think we now need to move on further on down in the field. There's not really many places we can go with me and my cameraman, so I'll see if I can pop my head into different places. Of course, just spotted Joey DePrato there, of course, making up 2 places in that last half an hour. Mega sim from him, putting in some really good time in places. Finished 9th as well. We've got the number 2 right in front of us as well. They finished quite the way down. I'll see if I can potentially get Lee Taylor, the 95, which finished in 2nd. And I believe it was the 151. I'm going to try and sneak it through, see if my cameraman can make it through. But we've got Semprini, its door still open, so quite able to make it through. We'll wait and see if we can try and make it through. But it's an absolute car park full of KAs, and we've actually managed to find Lee Taylor there chatting to Marcus Clutton. Lee, strong race for you. Of course, you and Marcus had an absolute stint and a half, but yeah, how did you see it from your point of view?
Very hot. So hot. No, I think it was our most competitive race we've had. We've practiced at Snetterton quite a bit, so the car felt quick. Just ran out of tyres in the end, but no, it was a really good race. Really good race.
You say that the tyres kind of went off. Kind of talk about that more, because of course you could have potentially put some more tyres on, but you decided not to.
Yeah, I don't know. It was probably the right decision not to. It was just by the end, the first corner, which was previously flat out, was lifting a bit of a break. So it's probably losing 3/4 of a second just there. So I don't know if I caught them or not, but we were making a good go of it.
And of course, this car really kind of carried you throughout the day. But kind of talk about your first stint as well, because yeah, that was kind of rough to go through. But you were always in the lead. You were always kind of there when it mattered the most.
Yeah, that was fun. So I think we started 15th. So we worked the pack really well. Got up to 2nd. I think the safety car helped close us up to 46 at the front, and then we were just with them the whole way round. So yeah, it was it's the most competitive we've been. So hopefully we can take that on to Brands Hatch.
We spoke about Marcus's pace with him in the pit lane report, but kind of tell me how you saw it from your point of view, because it looks mega from up in the commentary box.
Yeah, he's incredible. I don't know how he does it. We could have done with a few less safety car laps, I think, in his stint. So I think he only, in the end, pulled out maybe 15 seconds. And then we took on fuel, and I think 46 didn't. So I think that was the difference. But yeah, one or two more laps of Marcus in that stint, not behind the safety car, I think it would have been a lot closer.
Absolutely, and we'll let you go and celebrate with your team. But yeah, you can absolutely see this whole melee of KAs, and I'll be real, I was so embroiled in the battle for fifth, sixth, and no, it was fourth, fifth, and sixth. But I completely forgot to finish P3 because they've been so quiet as Colm was passing me there. But yeah, I'll throw this back up to Jack. But what an absolute day of racing. We've had so many amazing races here. But yeah, Jack, back up to you.
Brilliant, thank you so much, Adam. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you are still here at the circuit, thank you so much for staying until the very end. To all the marshals, the circuit staff, the recovery crews, and everybody at MSV and MSVR, thank you so much for all of your hard work over the weekend. It doesn't go unnoticed, please don't think that it does. It is an absolute pleasure to work with you all, and you truly do make these weekends happen, and it has been an absolute pleasure. If you're watching along at home, thank you for interacting, thank you for chatting, thank you for keeping us entertained as much as us doing the same for you as well at home. We hope you have enjoyed it, and if it's your first time watching along, we hope to see you all very, very soon. Join us next time out as we go to Brands Hatch for 2 back-to-back weekends with the EnduroKA Championship. If you're local to Snetterton, we look forward to seeing you again. If you are here at the circuit, we wish you a very safe journey home. If you're joining us online, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.